What's going on, YouTube world? Steve, Vincenzo, and good friend to the show, and good friend of ours, Jeff Morris, um, returning under his own will, free will, and volition, and not.
Don't lie, Dave. You don't lie. You
Christmas.
coerced him.
Day.
You coerced him.
They threatened to kidnap my puppy if I didn't come on.
Now,
Base-
Jeff, we would never do that.
No, they didn't. I've just made that up.
So we'll do a little year-end review at some point tonight. I don't know of what, but it's a catchy title. Everybody does them, so easy to make a placeholder for that. And the rare time I actually sent Steve the quote-unquote itinerary of topics, so didn't forget that tonight. And Jeff gracious enough to grace us with his presence tonight, and that's we thank you right away out of the gate, coming on and waxing nostalgic, as it were, with a cavalcade of topics and stories to bestow upon us. So I'm excited as per the usual. So
yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be brutally honest. So we knew that Dave had been chatting with you, Jeff, like early last week. And since we already had our Christmas episode lined up, which we do every year, I was like, oh, crap. Are we going to miss the opportunity to have Jeff one more time before the end of the year? I was like, reach out to him, see if we can get him on the last show of the year, and we can go out with the bang. And he never told us whether or not you confirmed, denied, said, kiss my ass, I'm done with you guys. Like, and then like 5 minutes before he gets on, I get a text message from Dave with the topic or the itinerary. And I was like, oh, sweet. We are going to get Jeff to end the year. I was like, this is awesome. So you made my evening, Jeff. You made my evening.
That's great. Yeah, and sorry for the technical difficulties getting on and with our. I don't know what the issues were, but I think it was on my end with our rural Canadian internet server, which is a pumpkin farm donkey with a carrot tied to in front of his nose, walking around a big wheel, running our half GBK whatever. But anyway, we're on. So
in other words, Amish country. That's what Dave runs off of.
Pretty much. Yeah. More. Well, the Amish, the real, like our local Amish country is about 40 miles south of here, on the other side of the St. Lawrence River. Once, like between Ogdensburg, New York, and Watertown, New York, it's big time Amish. And it's kind of cool because you go to Walmart in Ogdensburg and the buggies, there's actually parking for the horses and buggies, and I always take selfies with them and stuff. And so that's kind of cool. My fantasy baseball team is actually called the Fighting Amish. And the only reason I joined fantasy baseball is so that I can write press releases and send them out to the other players. Like our home field is Sally Park or Sally Field, which is at Chanho Park. But Sally Field is our home stadium, and we're the first. The Fighting Amish are the first team to scrap traditional baseball uniforms and wear cloaks. They got a deal with FTBT, which is a spinoff of FUBU, a division they started for Thou by Thou, and brimmed baseball hats. That we're working on a deal with Fanatics for that, and so yeah, it's the first promotion we had for our team was Mary Kay Letourneau night. Whereas if you any teachers who bring a 13-year-old student get in free. Am I allowed to say that on this show? I'm not sure.
Yes, absolutely.
So anyway, that's the whole season just sort of starts that way and goes south. So that's why I play fantasy baseball, just to have fun, and keeps me laughing. And I don't care if the other guys laugh. I laugh while I write it, and I send it out, and I don't really care what they think.
That's all that matters, Jeff.
Yeah.
That's all that matters, because I'm over here dying.
Completely self-serving. Yeah, that's the story of the Fighting Amish, and playing at Sally Field, and so yeah, hopefully we'll win some games this year.
Hopefully they do better than my football team.
Which one?
What is it now? They've had 58 starting quarterbacks in the NFL this year. I think I saw yesterday 58 starting quarterbacks, and
I wouldn't be shocked. I bet.
And the amazing thing that I always look at it from a collector's perspective. I watch football two different ways. One is becoming a referee ruined the way I watch football for life, and it just made me watch for different things and watch from different angles and things, and the other thing is that seeing from the hobby perspective, like didn't everybody just want Tommy Cutlets to become Kurt Warner? It would be so exciting for the hobby for that guy, and we're all still waiting for his rookie card. I mean, he's had a couple of Sage cards from when he played at Illinois. I don't think there's anything I live near Syracuse and I follow the Orangemen, and when he was the quarterback there, there's nothing. I mean, Illinois and Syracuse have almost identical uniforms, but there's nothing of him in an Orangeman uniform anywhere. And it's just you just want a guy, you just want a story like that. And then the really interesting thing is I don't know if you guys have talked about it yet, but what about the guys that come into the league? They're considered busts. They float around, and then all of a sudden they're superstars. And I'm talking about Baker Mayfield, because Baker Mayfield, everybody gave up on Baker Mayfield. And the thing is that everybody's drafting quarterbacks high. They're throwing them in there before they're ready. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how long before how long before the kid that went first overall, Young, last year, how long before the hobby completely turns its back on him, unless they already have? Baker Mayfield, he wasn't a superstar within 6 games, so everybody in the Browns wanted to run him out of town, and all of a sudden now, look, I don't think right now, as of today, December 26th, I don't think there's a better quarterback in the NFL right now than him. There might be in 2 weeks, but I mean right now, this second, he's so on his game. It's incredible to watch. And so what happens to everybody that invested in his cards, dumped them all for 10% of what they paid for and gave up on them? So what's the deal now? Are there a bunch of PSA 9s and 10s out there that dirt cheap that everybody's jumping on? I haven't really taken a look at that over the holidays, but I would not be surprised if he's on fire on eBay as far as that goes, because I mean, it's collecting is like stock market. Buy when everyone's selling, sell when everyone's buying, and that's I just find it fascinating. And where the hell did Joe Flacco come from? How many people have cobwebs and mothballs with his cards stored away in some monster box in an attic somewhere? All of a sudden, Joe Flacco is, I mean, if you were in the AFC, would you want to play Cleveland right now with their defense and with the offense running the way it is? And look at what Cooper did on Sunday with Joe Flacco as his quarterback. I mean, that was historic what those guys did. Mm-hmm. and after watching Baltimore last night, Cleveland, Baltimore in an AFC final, that's very legitimately possible. And Lamar Jackson is what Michael Vick was supposed to be when the hobby went bonkers for him 20 years ago. And so it's just such an exciting time. But there's so many quarterbacks that are they're just lighting it up, and they're taking turns. And there's some guys that are kind of fading away, but you're getting the really big thing this year, I think, is the rebound superstars. And what happens in the hobby with those guys? Are you able to get cards of these guys like way below value, or like I'm not sure how that's going to play out, because I don't think we've seen anything like this in a football season in a long time. Where
I tell you what, if Darnold would have like even forged a better comeback in that San Francisco Baltimore game, I could only imagine what his stuff would have done coming in for Purdy in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, he led like five of his first drive, 4 or 5 of 6, 30-something yards and a TD. It was like, and he was on point, mind you, like on point.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there going, okay, this game just got a little bit more interesting. Baltimore goes 3 and out. San Francisco's driving. They get the pass interference call on the 1-yard line. Obviously, they didn't score. They had to have turned it over on downs. I didn't finish watching the game, but I'm sitting there going, could you imagine what would have happened to, Darnold stuff? But you're right. It's these guys that were top-tier draft picks. People gave up on them. A lot of people gave up on them. Got rid of stuff. Other people silently picking stuff up when Baker went to, where is he? Carolina?
Tampa.
Thank you. And that's what's interesting though, when it comes to like football and specifically. Like you have some guys that it's like, okay, is there going to be a resurgence of this guy? He's being traded to a team. Maybe, perhaps I'm going to pick up some stuff, try and take advantage of it. Others, like you said, Jeff, it's people give up on these guys, sell it for pennies on the dollar, and they're kicking themselves in the ass. But on the flip side, that's not the collector mentality though either. That's the investor mentality.
Exactly.
If you're a collector, you don't give a crap what happens. Dave can attest to that. I can attest to that. Granted, TD went on, had 2 Super Bowls, 2,000 yards, an NFL MVP, a Super Bowl MVP, made it to the Hall of Fame. He had a decent career in a short amount of time. But I still collect other Denver Broncos autographs that didn't amount to shit. And they're still important to me because they played for the team that I like. So it's not about how much it's worth or how much I can sell it for. Like, it's not important. Dave, of course, has the plethora of failed player PCs. And he doesn't do it because of expected value. He liked the kid in college, hoping that he would do well in the NFL. Not so much. And yes, I'm talking specific football, more so than I am baseball, because Josh Johnson had some decent years.
Yeah, and he was okay when he was coming off Tommy John when I started collecting him. And again, always being like that Marlins fan, that the cool colors. Anytime you like Derek Lee when they made that big fire sale the first time and drafting Kotze, drafting Dunwoody, then getting Derek Lee and all these other players, it's like, ooh, this is like a major league team made of like the Baseball America like top 50 prospects. I'm in on that. They're already a team I follow, so. And again, even being a Phillies fan, I still like them in the division. I'm not one of those people that if I like Dallas, it's not going to be like scandalous to be like, I like Philly as well. I mean, I like what they do. In the same division. Well, you can't do that. You can only like one. Well, says who? I mean, none of these people care about me when I'm watching them. I mean, if I want to cheer for Dallas against the Giants, and I want to cheer for Philly against the Redskins, I'll do it. I don't care. But it's the same with the Marlins and the Phillies. My life doesn't revolve around those sports, but yeah, it's when they had all these players come over. It's like, yeah, I've got how many collections of fucking Marlins players that just suck. Josh Johnson, I mean, that's the deepest end of the pool. Decent year in like 05, started decent in 06, got hurt. Tommy John, I think in early 07, it would have been when I started collecting him, what, early 08 maybe? I don't even remember. I want to say April of 08, looking for like a pitcher to collect. And he had a bunch of stuff in that 06 with Verlander and John Lester and Jared Weaver, Matt Cain, Adam Wainwright. I'm like, okay, I can buy into this. So yeah, it's a lot of nice stuff though too. It's not just like you're buying base cards of Octavio Dotel, and that's like your best card is like a Topps Black Parallel because he's got nothing else. I mean, you look at, well, maybe one day this will be worth something, but it's not in the sense of maybe one day this will be worth something to sell it or trade it for something else. It's just like, I hope there's some value to it to someone. So yeah, there's a lot of those PCs out there that are, they're nice, but they're just Josh McCown and Jay Samaro and Sergio Mitre and Merkin Valdez and Alexander Daig. And I mean, it just, there's a pile upon a pile upon a pile of superstars and has-beens and never wases. So yeah, I haven't looked at Baker Mayfield stuff, but I bet you in that last month it's been white hot. And then any of these kids or the young adults that get the money from mom and dad or grandma and grandpa or whatever for Christmas, I'm sure they're going to be trying to parlay that into some Baker NT auto patch and flip that for who knows if he does something down the road or in the playoffs here that try to double their money as investors and speculators.
Do you think now that if kids get a couple $100 at Christmas, are they going to go out and buy one graded card, or are they going to go out and buy a box and rip packs? What would you like? I know when I was that age, and still, I would go buy wax every time. But I don't think, like, I look at my kids, and who basically live on DraftKings every Sunday, despite every week telling them, guys, in-game parlays are sucker bets. You'll get 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5. You'll never get it, but they're so close, you know. But it's like they would spend the money on a PSA graded card of a superstar rather than buy a box of NFL cards. I was 100% opposite of that, and I still am. But I think that's what you talk about. You talk about the collector versus the investor. I'm a collector through and through. I don't collect trying to make money. I don't collect as an investment. I collect because I love it. If I have stuff that's worth a lot, hey, that's great. I take care of it. I get it graded, whatever. But most of my sets and boxes, I like to complete sets, the base sets anyway. I like to complete, I like to get some inserts of the players I like and whatever. They end up in binders. I have a binder for each year. I flip through it all the time when I'm watching football or baseball or hockey. I don't have much basketball, but I have some. But it's such a different a different landscape now. And I see, you know, I know you guys focus on the 90s, but I see things coming full circle. You know, I worry about Fanatics because, you know, in the mid 90s, the baseball strike catalyzed this whole thing where sales tanked, but royalties remained the same. The greedy players unions and leagues wanted the same amount of money, despite the fact that sales were 40% of what they were before, you know, between 1992 and 1996. So their answer was, well, we'll let you make 4 more products each or whatever. And that's how we ended up one year with, you know, 48 different NFL products. That's how we ended up with, you know, 36 different NHL products. It just became a mountain of stuff. It was a challenge for guys like me that were working in the industry developing products, because it's like we all of a sudden had to make so many different products different from each other with different hooks, different selling points, different designs, different price points, different reasons for being. It made it very difficult. But you know, are we headed back there? And the thing is that the hobby, when the hobby tanked in the as one of my kids calls it, the zero-ties, that decade, when the hobby tanked at that time, it was because the investors left. The collectors stayed, the investors left. And where did the investors go? The investors went to E-Trade. There were all these new kind of things where you could, you know, get rich quick. You could buy penny stocks on E-Trade and triple your $5 and make 15, and that was exciting. That's what these guys were in it for. Some get the big hit, but I mean, online trading is what really buried the trading card industry at that time. It was because that's what took the investors away. The investors came back during COVID, and I mean, you know, there was the stuff that kept it fueling, like the Mike Trout 1-of-1 card and things like that. But are we at the point now where the cards that used to go for, you know, the 1-of-1s that used to go for $25,000, well, maybe they're $10,000 cards now, or, you know, are those, are the 1-of-1 refractor rookies still out there? I think they are, but they're so few and far between. You have to be, you know, Ohtani, or you have to be, you know, Yamamoto's gonna have that kind of pull. You know, like there's always the high end superstars, a handful of them, but the depth behind that isn't a lot. So it's yeah, and if those investors see that they can't make their money, they're just going to walk away, and the volume of sales is going to go way down. And Fanatics paid such a ridiculous amount of money for all of these licenses. What happens on the day when we wake up and we read in the Sports Business Journal that Fanatics is walking away from trading cards? I don't think it'll happen. It might happen down the road. Certainly not going to happen anytime soon. But that will leave the
10 years
unions.
Wasn't a 10-year deal?
Yeah. Can they hang on for 10 years with that kind of money? I don't know. Like it's because their first year, their sales weren't what they expected.
Because
let's see. I mean, I want them to succeed, and I think it's a brilliant marriage between the two companies. But it's worrisome because we've been down this road before. I worked for Pinnacle when the balloon burst there. That caught everybody by surprise. The only heads up we had was about 2 or 3 months before it happened. We had like 3 CFOs hired and quit. And then it's like, hey, if you work for a company and the CFO quits and the next guy quits and the next guy quits, you think that maybe something's up. You know?
Yeah, that could be an indicator something isn't right.
Yeah. So, and you know, I mean, I was talking to, I had a good talk with Brian Foy today. I worked with him at Pinnacle. He's the guy that invented Dare to Tear, and really messed with people's heads when he did that. but I mean, we were talking about, you know, the old times and how the hobbies changed between now and then, and we worked so hard, and we were both so reluctant to accept that Pinnacle was going under because we loved it so much and we loved what we were doing. We loved the products we created. We loved working together. And it was just like we were totally in denial because it was the dream job for both of us. I would give anything to go back to Pinnacle. If Pinnacle started up again, I would like, I'd rub my crotch with a cheese grater for the right to go back to Pinnacle. I loved it so much. Am I allowed to say that?
Of course you are.
Yeah. Okay.
Allowed, but still disturbing.
Just remember, Jeff, there's only 2 rules on the show here. No politics, no religion. Other than that, free reign, man.
It's like the first time I saw Australian rules football on ESPN. It was like, I think the rules were the ball can't go out of bounds and no biting. And there was a guy in a lab coat that made funny gestures. But no biting. It was the one rule that they had.
So we actually got an interesting question, and I'll read this here in a second. And this is for you, Jeff. I'll read it to you, so you don't have to worry about it. I'm going to be honest with you, and this is only my opinion. I think history has a tendency to repeat itself, and I think we're heading towards what happened in the 90s, honestly. Mm-hmm. I think the same thing's going to happen. When that is, who knows? Is it going to be as rough? I hope not, personally. But I think we're on the verge of history repeating itself in that era of sports cards, and doesn't impact us as collectors. We're still going to be around. We're still going to collect stuff. But, and truth be told, I think Fanatics is going to maintain the same number of products. I think they're going to just keep upping the price point. That's my opinion.
And that's going to be the downfall.
Mm-hmm.
When you can't buy a pack of cards and a basic pack of Upper Deck hockey is $6 a pack, people out of your minds. $300 for the pre-sale Bedard. What happens next year if there's nobody that's even close? Watch hockey prices for when it comes out. So 21, 22, Series 1 and 2. Retail boxes are now $33. They were $80 when they started out. And hobby boxes are about $50, $60. If you can wait, it just goes.
What I find interesting, I really want to get Jeff's opinion on Joe's question.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I find really interesting, and other people may have brought this up, may or may not, I don't know. But in the 2000s, you had MSRP. And majority of the time, if MSRP of a product was between $80 and $100, and yes, I know that's a big range, but MSRPs can have a range. You could go into almost every hobby shop and find that product between $80 and $100. Even your high dollar, what was considered higher dollar, your SP Authentic, and I'm speaking football here. SP Authentic was $100, $110. Contenders, $100, $110 per box, and it was consistent. Only until COVID came around that these damn manufacturers decided to freaking ass rape everybody. And here, let's produce more product, but we're going to bump the price point through the freaking roof. And yet people were still buying it. Hello, folks. If you're going to bitch about the prices, I know Carlos has said this. If you're going to bitch about the prices, don't buy it. Because guess what? If nobody's buying it, they have no choice but to drop the price, or they're going to be sitting on product and they're going to be losing money.
Yep.
But only during COVID did these manufacturers sit there and go, oh, I know how we can make more money. Let's just up the fucking price. And people bought it. No. Hello. Anybody there? Anyways. So Joe's question. What does Jeff think of the large bounties being put on chase cards by companies distributing the products? For example, Dave and Adams.
I'm not 100% familiar with exactly what Dave and Adams is doing right now. I do buy a lot of stuff from them. But I mean, the bounties have been around for a while, and they're obviously doing it because it works. And Dave and Adams is one of the smartest retailers in the history of this hobby. No doubt, 100%. I mean, those guys have been doing everything right since the mid '90s, and they have a grasp on the business. Probably, and I mean the business from the product development within the manufacturing facilities to the purchase of a product to whatever when they go to grading. Like they've got a handle on it. And you know what? If it's working for them, they're going to do it. And you know, we've seen the bounties before, but I mean, that's the thing. If they're going to keep doing it until it doesn't work. I came across a box that I've got. I mean, this isn't really a bounty thing. I came across a box I've got in my shelf that I didn't really forget that I had, but I hadn't thought of it in a while. And it's with, you know, I have a lot of unopened wax from back in the day when I worked in the business, and I have a box of 2000 Bowman baseball that I never opened. And that had an interesting spin when they sold Bowman at that point. If the box is not worth $100 or more, you could return it and get your money back. It was some sort of gimmicky thing Topps had on at that time. Not anything near what Dave and Adams is doing, but it reminded me of that. And it's like there's all these marketing gimmicks and I don't want to call them schemes or anything, but it's like put the money into better products, you know, instead of gimmicks. You know, put the money into more autographs, put the money into, you know, we've already seen the same product 1,000 times over with the refractor 1 of 1, then the parallels to 5, the parallels to 25, and there's pink and green and blue and rainbow and asshole color and whatever. You know, it's the same stuff we're getting time after time after time after time. And you know, when I was talking to Brian today, it's like, well, you know, you got to remember there's only so much you can do on 2.5 by 3.5 cards. And in our time in the 90s, we pretty much exhausted all the ideas. You know, the only fresh idea that's come out since we were working there is the Topps Now or Upper Deck Game Day, and Panini has the same thing. It's like those sort of moment cards that you can order online, and I mean, that's a really great concept. I mean, that didn't exist when we were there, but there was no means or mechanism to sell something like but there has to be something more out there. And I think that because everybody has had a monopoly in their sport, they're not pushed. They don't have to, you know, like when I was at Pinnacle, it was like, man, we have to be better than Upper Deck. We have to be better than Fleer. We have to be better than Topps. Topps at that time, it was easy to be better than Topps because Topps was Topps, and they didn't put the effort into product development that we did because they were Topps. We were chasing them.
So, they didn't deviate from what they had done all the years. They just stayed consistent.
Yeah, they stayed consistent, and their money was made because they had a disadvantage, or sorry, an unfair advantage. I'll call it unfair because it really was. But they were grandfathered in with the ability to put prospects into their Bowman products. So they had all the rookie cards, and the rookie cards were what sold. And that's the thing. I think I look back at the years I was at Pinnacle. We had the highest retail sales of any company. You know, retail Target, Meijer stores. Walmart's a little bit of a different animal because Walmart only paid for what was scanned. So we'd say to send a store 10 cases of cards, 2 cases would get scanned and we'd get paid for 2 cases. Well, what happened to the other 8 cases? As the breeze drifts through the back door. So there was a lot of internal theft problems at that time, and that's why a lot of card companies walked away from Walmart at that time, because that was their policy. But retail, Pinnacle put more product into retail than any other company. We led the retail sales, but in the hobby, it's like we just didn't have, we couldn't bring you baseball rookies because everybody had been in Bowman 3 years earlier. In hockey, we couldn't give you rookies because the rookie cards all appeared in the World Junior sets in Upper Deck a couple of years ago, in the subsets that they put into Upper Deck Series 1 and Series 2. In football, in the mid-90s, you got to remember, there was, before Manning and Leaf, there's about a 3-year window where the rookies, the rookie crops, I don't want to say the rookie crops sucked, because there were some great players and Hall of Famers in there, but for collectors, they want the big, they want the Mannings and Leafs. They want the big stats guys. We couldn't deliver, 90, 95, 96, 97 was just, they were terrible years for rookie crops. And it's funny, one thing we were talking about today was and this is part of how Pinnacle was a train wreck. We had the wrong people making the decisions for the wrong reasons. And Brian said he thought the product was certified, and it was Steve, you would know better than me, because I worked mostly on the hockey products there and some of the baseball and football, but we wanted to get Terrell Davis into one of the sets as a rookie, and we didn't have any good photos of him. And we had one photo that had been pre-used on a card back, and it was not a real good photo. And Brian was screaming up and down, Terrell Davis has to be in this set. The market needs Terrell Davis, and the photo editor was given too much power by that company. And he picked another player because he didn't like the aesthetic value of the he thought that the poor quality of the photo compromised the overall product, not understanding that the collectors could really give a rat's ass about the aesthetic value of the card and whatever. They wanted like Terrell Davis. And it was the same reason there was a set where Jake Plummer didn't get in a set, and he was a hot rookie that year because the photo editor didn't like the product. It happened in baseball, it happened in hockey, and lo and behold, I go from Pinnacle, which was like Goliath, to Collector's Edge, which was the ultimate David in the David Goliath hobby thing. And here's, we were pumping all this money into technology and everything else in Pinnacle. We come out with our first Kurt Warner card, and the sales blew up at Collector's Edge. And then the thing with Collector's Edge, because we were owned by Shop at Home, we could sell the shit out of everything we made on Shop at Home. And you talk about the high-end products. We had Collector's Edge Masters, which was basically, I developed the Totally Certified product, and then Masters was basically plagiarism of Totally Certified. There you go. Totally Certified with a couple of other bells and whistles to upgrade it. And it's like Totally Certified was a huge success, despite the fact that there were basically no rookies in the product. And that's what really was the disadvantage at that time that Pinnacle had. But yeah, you look back at 95, 96, 97. If Pinnacle had hung on one more year, and we could have capitalized on Manning and Leaf and Randy Moss and later on Dante Culpepper and that whole 1998 draft class that was so absolutely friggin' lights out, it would have been a completely. I can't remember whether Ricky Williams was that year or whether he was.
He was 99.
He was 99. He was the year after. But there were so many great players that came in that came in with that Ryan Leaf Peyton Manning class, and and yeah, it's players that drive products, and the way Pinnacle was built, they were focused. Their thinking was that putting all kinds of money into fancy technology would increase sales and value. Wasn't not player selection, and it's 100% the opposite. And by the time they figured it out, it was too late. But I mean, it's the timing too. I mean, you guys probably collected cards in that era. That
Oh yeah.
the 90s. So you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, nothing against Orlando Pace or any of those guys, but it's just like collectors aren't gonna, nobody's gonna spend $50,000 on an Orlando Pace PSA 10 that's limited. I mean, people want quarterbacks. People don't even want running backs anymore. Remember in that time, like okay, we had Terrell Davis, we had Barry Sanders, there were Emmitt Smith. I mean, how many great Robert? What's his name from the Vikings? Robert Smith.
Yep.
That guy was a stud and hugely underrated. But it just seemed like they were such great tailbacks at that time, and running backs were 1,000 yards was a big deal, and running backs don't like now. It's most of the teams are running tailback by committee. Teams are running out of the shotgun all the time or out of the pistol. It's all this read option garbage.
Yep.
So the who's a collectible running back now? Christian McCaffrey is, but it's because he's a multifaceted player.
Bijan Robinson's about the only guy that's been a recent draft pick that's people seem to like. He's no Christian McCaffrey yet, but I mean,
yeah. And
he's still a young kid.
Saquon Barkley is still relevant, but I mean, those guys aren't dominating the hobby. I mean, I think Derrick Henry was dominating the hobby at one point in football, or at least he was there with the quarterbacks.
Mhm.
But remember when Todd Gurley came out? I mean, he was a big deal in the hobby, and his career didn't last very long. And now it's because it's a different game. I don't know, but the relevance of the running back, I think that's really hurt the hobby, and I think that's taken away. It's taken away some of the excitement because man, you remember like when TD was running for 2,000 yards, and there were so many guys that were like great running backs. One of my favorite running backs was Amon Green from the Packers.
Mhm.
And the reason, I mean, I always loved watching him run. He ran low, he cut well. I mean, he was a bit of a Barry Sanders starter kit the way he ran. I mean, nobody's going to be Barry Sanders, but I mean, you had different styles of running backs. Like there was the bus in Pittsburgh ran a certain way, and like everybody had their style. Curtis Martin, who's mentioned, he was a different kind of player. But Amon Green, one day I was at Collector's Edge sitting at my desk, and Amon Green phoned us, took the time to make a phone call to us, and just wanted to say, hey, I got all my cards from you guys, all the cards you made of me from the NFLPA, and I just wanted to say thanks. And he talked about every single card that we made of him. Like he went into detail talking about them, and he was so thrilled. But he actually took the time he probably called Topps and Upper Deck and Fleer also, and probably called Playoff too. But for him to do that, I mean, what a class guy to do that. And I always loved him after that, because it's just like, man, what a class act, and that's the great thing about, working in the business. I know Dave always talks about how, being in the hobby and being in this business and everything, it's all about relationships. Well, when a player reaches out to your company and makes that first, puts the cornerstone down for the bridge for a relationship, that's a very special moment. And when you get players, and there were other players like that as well that were just so good to us, and you start to really, when you get in this, and I'm sure a lot of collectors are the same way, you start to really gravitate towards players, not teams. I'm a Denver Broncos fan. I follow the Cowboys too because I'm old enough that there was an AFL and an NFL, and in our family, my dad was a Cowboys fan, and we always watched AFL football also, and our family had a connection with Denver, so we were Broncos fans. But it was two leagues at that point, and other than Super Bowl 12, it was never a problem. But apart from following our teams, it's like as a collector, it's like there are certain guys you really like, and you want to watch them. You want them to do well. Right now, I love watching Baker Mayfield. I'd get excited if I opened a pack of cards today and I got a Baker Mayfield card because I love watching that guy. I'm on his bandwagon. I can't wait till the Tommy Cutlets rookie cards come out. I want to see that guy win. I want to see the Giants win. I want to see him do well because it's just an exciting thing. So, boy, that was a rant. Sorry about that.
Nothing wrong with it.
No.
Nothing wrong with it at all.
And I think from back then in like the 90s to where it is now, it's like the media dispersal of the highlights. Back then, you were watching NFL primetime, Boomer and Tom Jackson, and then when they added Stuart Scott, I think in 97, it's like that's where you got your highlights. If you wanted to see an actual NFL-centric highlight, because SportsCenter would have a couple of the blurbs, but they weren't going to have like Mike Allstott, 6 yards, 5 yards, 7 yards, knocking people over. They weren't going to constantly show that and then him breaking like a 40-yard touchdown. Mm-hmm. You knew you had to watch that. Yeah, I'd be on, I think, 11 o'clock p.m. Central Time as like a replay, depending on how late the ESPN game went on Sunday night. But now you can sit there, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. I mean, any entity you can find will have some sort of NFL highlight. People videotaping the game on TV. So, I mean, now you don't have to be sitting there and, I want to watch a full highlight. I want to see somebody get depleted on special teams that I might not know of. Mm-hmm. And love that instead of just like, oh man, here's like a touchdown by Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce. Yay, what a treat. I mean, great that they're putting up some incredible numbers, but again, when you saw Montana to Rice, it was usually a thing of beauty.
Yeah.
It wasn't Montana just sort of doing like the moonwalk and Michael Jackson moves in the backfield and spinning and whatever. And again, great for Patrick Mahomes, but you had LT coming towards you. You had some defenders that were hunkering down. Richard Dent, like you're running for your life. You throw it on the run on a dime to streaking John Taylor or Jerry Rice, and you're just like, how's that work out?
Hey, did I ever tell you about my Joe Montana autograph football? Any of the times I've been on?
I believe so. If Vinny's shaking his head, yes.
Wait there. I'll get it. I'll get it. Here, it's just over here. Hold on.
We have not seen it though.
No.
Just give me a second.
He was at a dinner, and he said, "I'll do you one better."
Yeah, that's right. And so it was in Cleveland at the National, and Krause was there as you guys remember Krause, and Hugh McAloon was running Krause at that time.
Okay.
And he Joe Montana was there as an autograph guest, and for some reason he had connected with Joe Montana, and they were going to have dinner, and they had a table for 8. So he came over to Pacific, and he said, "Do you guys want to join us as our guests?" Because we advertised with Krause, and we were a client of theirs or whatever, however you'd explain it. So I bought an NFL ball at the show on the floor, a nice Wilson NFL ball. I don't know if you can see that, so we were sitting there, and I was chatting with Joe Montana about obviously the Canadian Football League, because what I do. But the quarterback at Notre Dame before Joe Montana was there was a guy named Tom Clements, who was a coach and an OC in the NFL, but he was a star with the Ottawa Rough Riders. And he was a quarterback at Notre Dame before Joe Montana. So we were talking about Tom Clements because I grew up season ticket holder in Ottawa. He was my favorite player, whatever. And we were talking about that, and I pulled the football out for him to sign. And Mike Kramer and one of his kids were with us. Bruce Chapelier, who was our sales guy, Mike Monson, who worked in our marketing department. We were all there with a couple of guys from Krause and Joe Montana, and Mike Kramer's son Michael had a football also. So I gave him the football first, and Joe Montana said. He said, okay, I'm not just going to sign this to you. Go to the other end of the room. And it was a big hotel ballroom, and there are other people in there, whatever. And he like fires this like 150-foot long pass to me, like it was a big hotel ballroom. He throws it from one end to the other, and then I catch it, and I pretend to put my feet in bounds and whatever. And then he comes back and he autographs it, and it's to Jeff, nice catch, Joe Montana. And so that's what he said. Now, instead of just having an autograph, you've got a story to tell, and you caught a pass from Joe Montana. And I thought that was the coolest thing. That was all him and his idea, and it was like a super, super nice guy. And then Mike Monson asked him about the movie Rudy, and Joe Montana lost his nut and just started going on about how it was nothing like that, and that little son of a bitch, and blah blah blah. It was really funny. I wouldn't let them use my name in the movie at all, and poor Mike Monson was almost in tears. He was like, and he looks at Joe Montana, and he says, "You just ruined the best movie ever for me." And it was a pretty funny moment, but anyway, that's the Joe Montana story, and that's the football. And I have a couple of autographed NFL balls and a CFL autograph ball, and that one is by far my favorite because Joe Montana actually threw me a pass, and thank God I didn't drop it, because that would have been pretty embarrassing. But it was a fun thing. So speaking of quarterbacks, brought something else for show and tell. Can you guys see that? Oh,
Let's expose.
I think you wore that on the show.
I may have worn this on the show once. Yeah, I think so. But it's suddenly a focal point right now after the Bowman draft set came out a couple weeks ago. So pretty that was exciting to see them finally clue in and make a Tom Brady baseball card. They should have done it 10 years ago, but they finally figured it out. So good for them.
The commercial was pretty good.
It was amazing, yet as somebody that grew up near Montreal, it was a gut punch. You know, especially at the end when they said, "Oh, if Brady would never have come to Montreal, the team might have left." It was like, you sons of bitches. You know? So, but it was well done. It was really well done. So good on them.
Didn't Five Star or somebody actually have redemption cards in a baseball product of Brady years ago?
I don't remember. They may have. I don't remember.
I think they were redemptions. Don't hold me to that, but I want to say I caught a blurb or heard or saw something that they're in one of the higher priced Topps products years ago, baseball, they had some Brady autos that were redemption only.
I don't remember that, but again, at that time I wasn't I mean, I was just going to the shop buying cards and setting up a table at a show every now and then. I wasn't really plugged in as much as I was, and I'm not plugged in now as nearly as much as I used to be. But I don't remember that. But they've been marketing the Brady card as if it's his first ever baseball card. But
I'll have to see if I can figure out where I saw that, heard it. Because I'm almost. And then again, it's not like I went and did the research either to see if that was confirmed or not.
mhm.
But I thought it was interesting that somebody had brought it up.
About a week ago, I wrote a story on sportscollectorsdaily.com about the first Tom Brady NFL card and how it came to be. And I'm sure I've told this story to you guys too, because I think I've told you every story I have in the bag of tricks by this point. But Steve once said it's okay to tell them over and over again. So, but I mean the story is detailed at sportscollectorsdaily.com. There's a couple of kind of good new things up there. I got to interview Geddy Lee about his baseball card or his baseball memorabilia collection a couple of weeks ago, and the Tom Brady card. The way it, like, when he was drafted in, I'm trying to think, it was 95. It was 94 or 95. I think it was the 95 draft. Because it was during the lockout or the strike or whatever cost the Expos the World Series. It was at that point in time. And I was the editor at Canadian Sports Card Collector. So, and at that time, baseball was big in Canada. Like hockey is always number one there, but baseball was also big. The Blue Jays are coming off of 2 straight World Series. The Expos would have won in '94. They were so far ahead of everybody. And with their pitching staff and their offense, I mean, nobody could touch them. And then the strike happens, but we as a magazine, I mean, you know, because everybody in every sport follows rookies and draft picks and everything. So I'm on a conference call with the GM, Kevin Malone, and he starts talking about the 18th round pick, this catcher named Tom Brady that he selected. He said, unfortunately, we expect him to go to Michigan to play football. So we took a flyer on him, but he would have been a second round. He would have probably been a second round pick. But he's available in the 18th round. And so we just took a flyer on him just to, you know, because there had been at that point a lot of players playing football and baseball. I mean, Chris Wenke was playing for the Blue Jays and for Florida State, their quarterback at that time. We'd seen Danny Ainge do 2 sports. We'd seen Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders. There's a number of guys that were 2-sport draft picks, and
Right.
And Tom Brady was at Michigan the same time as Drew Henson, who was a third baseman in the Yankees organization. So it wasn't an unusual thing for them to pick him. And then even when Brady was at Michigan, he wasn't a superstar. He split time with Henson, and then the combine. I was at Collector's Edge by this point. We had photographers and scouts and everything at the combine, and we were very plugged into a network of people that were feeding us information. And because we were only doing one sport, well, we were doing basketball draft pick stuff, and there was a line called KB8, Kobe Bryant cards that we made at that time that were shop at home exclusive. But we were kind of plugged in, and you know, what came back to us was Tom Brady wasn't athletic enough to make it to the NFL, and they doubted that he would get drafted. And how it worked at that time was when a player was done his senior year, he had to sign a marketing waiver with Players Inc., which was the licensing arm of Players Association. Once he signed his waiver form, his marketing form, we were allowed to use him in card sets. And Players Inc. would send us an Excel sheet every single Friday. These are the guys that are now signed. And we had a set called Supreme at Collector's Edge, which was always the first set of the year. Like we put Supreme out in March. And the reason being is that we wanted it for sale on the air when the draft was going on, because we sold a shitload of it on Shop at Home. Don West could sell this all day long, and he did. And so, you know, Jane, who the girl, I can't remember Jane's last name, she was our photo editor, and she was fantastic. She was a brilliant photographer. She edited photos well. Like she was really on top of what was going on in the NFL. And we were developing Supreme, and we had a certain number of rookie cards we had spots for. And it's like, we're going through the list. Who do we have? You know, we took photos at several colleges through the season. We had, you know, we'd send our photographers to college games on Saturday and to NFL games on Sundays. But we also had them going to bowl games. We had them going to games like the East-West Shrine game and the Senior Bowl, the Blue-Gray game, all of those games, because that's where you're going to get all these guys. And back then, players were playing in the All-Star games and playing in the bowl games. So we're looking at the list, and we're trying to fill our thing in. And of course, we want to get the quarterbacks, the running backs, the receivers, and the superstars in. You know, we'll put in the linemen that are going to be, you know, guaranteed top 10 or first round picks. But, you know, we wanted the quarterbacks, and we're looking through the list, and I saw that Tom Brady was signed. Now, about 2 weeks before, I was back home, and on TSN, there was an interview with Kevin Malone, the GM of the Expos. And he was saying that, okay, so one of the things we're excited about is you know, Tom Brady has done his career. He didn't do well at the combine, so we expect him to get cut, and then we're going to try to sign him because we expect him to be the best catcher in our franchise since Gary Carter. We project him as an all-star. We project him as a franchise player, and he's a power hitting left-handed catcher, extremely cerebral, handles pitchers well. He has a gun for an arm down to second, a quick release. He had everything going for him. So it was like, I'm sitting there listening to this thinking, wow, this is great. Meanwhile, I mean, he hadn't been drafted yet, but I mean, even when he went to New England, it was like, there was Drew Bledsoe, there was John Freese, there was Michael Bishop, and then Brady went in as QB4, and they didn't expect him to make it out of training camp. And so I'm looking at the list. I see that Tom Brady has signed his marketing thing, and I said, Jane, did we have any photographers at Michigan last year? And she said, oh yeah, we shot like 3 Michigan games. I said, what about Tom Brady? And she said, well, he's not really supposed to make the NFL. Do you want to waste a card on him? And I said, well, the thing is that they're expecting him to be like an all-star in Major League Baseball. Wouldn't it be cool to have an NFL card of this guy? And so we looked at Tom Brady photos, and she says, this is the one I like. And that's the one she used on pick for Supreme Football. And so Tom Brady was in the set. And of course, nobody cared about it until that was in March 2000 when that product came out. Tom Brady didn't even really step on the field until it was September. 9/11 happened, and then the first games back after 9/11 was when Drew Bledsoe got hurt, and by that time Brady had worked his way up to QB2, and so Brady went in after 9/11. So it was a year and a half later that he got a chance to play, and then all of a sudden Brady got good, and then people started going back to the previous year's products and looking for them because they were all in commons bins and they were irrelevant cards, and all of a sudden everybody's scrambling through their monster boxes looking for Tom Brady. So
2,000 contenders rookie autos, you could get them for like $20-25 like all the time.
Yeah. And I mean that playoff card that's, I mean, the Tom Brady card, that wasn't a big deal when it came out. And the people that were lucky enough to have them, all of a sudden, it was like they found it was like finding a winning lottery ticket under,
Yep.
the cushion in your couch. Like it was incredible. So that's the story of how Tom Brady's first card was made. It had nothing to do with him playing football at all. And he did get drafted by the Patriots. And if New England did not draft him, he would have gone overlooked, and he may not even have got a sniff at the NFL. And he might have had to do the Kurt Warner route if he wanted to get a shot and play arena ball and go here and go play for the Frobisher-based Sealers or whatever the hell semi-pro team would have been. It would have been a long journey for him to get a shot, and he did get a shot, and he made the most of it. It's just like Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner got a shot, so you had like 2 years in a row where you had these kind of out of nowhere quarterbacks. And it was the best thing for the hobby ever. And so now that this Bowman draft card of Tom Brady is out, I mean it's not going to be an easy card to get. The autographs are going to be so expensive and high end, it's ridiculous. This is going to be treated just like a rookie card of a superstar. So I mean, they're going to be hard to get, but it's going to drive product for them. Like it's a brilliant marketing move. Like kudos to Topps. Topps did this absolutely right. And kudos to them, because it's a fantastic idea and executed beautifully.
So I can confirm 2014 Topps 5-star Tom Brady autographs, 2 variations.
Really?
Team Montreal Expos. So they've done this before, but I don't think they were redemptions. I don't think they ended up ever being released, is the issue. Which is why, if they are touting it as Tom Brady's baseball rookie autograph, that's the only reason why they can tout that, is because they wouldn't have released the redemptions in 2014.
And I don't think redemptions count as rookies. If you get into the nuts and bolts of Beckett definitions, mind you, inserts don't count as rookies either, but they're treating this like an insert, or like a rookie, and the hobby is certainly reacting to it. But this is the first impact Brady baseball card.
Yeah, so they don't have these tagged as rookie cards anyways, and like even for the 2023 stuff, they're not tagging them as rookie cards in Beckett. Currently.
I'll be honest with you, Steve. I don't even remember Topps 5-star. I have no recollection and memory of that product at all.
Oh, it was like $500 a pack. That's probably why.
That's a little bit of my price range.
Out of most people's price range, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5-star. 5-star was the equivalent to like Upper Deck Exquisite. That was like the competition. So Exquisite was the high-end Upper Deck. 5-star was Topps, and then National Treasures was Panini's Donruss Sleeve playoff going into Panini. So that was the high-end product in those years, until you started coming out with like Transcendent and what was the other football one that came out a couple of years ago that was like $35,000 a pack or some shit. Okay, 35,000 may have been an exaggeration, but it was 5 digits. It was 5 digits per pack.
Crazy. That's like the Shop at Home skit when I worked at Shop at Home, and they were doing all the when I worked at Shop at Home, and Saturday Night Live was doing all the skits on Will Ferrell as Don West, and we actually sold Mark Hamill as a collectible 1 of 1. I mean, it's the same. I mean, you're spending that much money on a pack. Like, I remember too, and it was only about a year or two before that. When I was at Pacific, Private Stock Titanium was my product, and it was a 1999 SRP. And you got a memorabilia card in every pack, and the rookies were serial numbered to the player's jersey number. So Ty Conklin, the goalie, there was a 1 of 1 of him, and I mean, it was so groundbreaking and earth shattering to have a product this expensive with those elements in it, and lo and behold, you know, within a year there were products times 10 of that coming out, and you know, once somebody raises the bar, somebody's going to smash it and raise it way out of control. But
or compete at the same level.
Yeah, and if you're going to compete at the same level, you've got to be that much better. And
Yep.
and I mean, exquisite was, I believe, 0304, and I don't think the idea was groundbreaking, and I don't think the idea. I mean, the idea was a natural revolution of like the way the product was built. It was very common sense. This is what it led to. But the fact that LeBron James was in his rookie year, that made it explode. If you bring the same product out the year before, the year after, it wouldn't have hit the radar like it did. But it was Carvin Chung developed the product at Upper Deck, and he executed it perfectly. And it was the right product at the right time. And that's part of this whole thing is it's not just how good is the product, but it's the timing of it. And Carvin did a phenomenal job with that product. And again, I don't think the idea of it was groundbreaking. I think that it was a buildup to that, but the fact that it came out with that player selection at that time, that year, I think made it. I mean, I would think if you looked at the Mount Rushmore of basketball card releases over the last century, that's number one. I don't think there's another basketball card release that's ever made that much impact on the hobby.
Well, and Exquisite would be my number one on my Mount Rushmore of football. Because everything was on card. Everything. And, you know, and I remember this, one of the big pushes from a marketing perspective was each pack was hand packed. Like, people would sit there, they'd have the box, and they would literally put the cards in.
Yeah.
But, you know, on the flip side, and this is one thing that used to piss me off from a customer service perspective. Okay, you're hand packing these cards. I'm spending $500 on a pack of cards. Why are like 3 of my 5 or 6 cards like they look like garbage? They look like they got hit by a fucking truck. Dinged corners, like whiting on the edges, and it like, okay, I get it. There are some situations with thicker cards that you run into those manufacturing type flaws, but these literally look like they were like hit on the side of a computer and on the side of a table and just like crammed in the box. What do? I sent in cards to Upper Deck. I'm like, I spent X amount of money on this. These cards look like shit. What do? They send me back the cards, and they send me like 10 packs of 2008 Upper Deck Draft. We don't have replacements. Okay, I get you don't have replacements, but you send me my cards back and you send me 10 packs of 2008 Upper Deck Draft. They're like $2 a pack.
Yeah.
I spent $500 on this pack of cards, and this is your way of saying, I'm sorry. We don't have replacements. Here, let me give you some shit. Really? That's my horror story with Upper Deck.
That's
And what do I do? I end up buying the product again the following year. But at least none of those were damaged. At least
You're part of the problem, Steve, not the solution, apparently.
yeah.
bought a case of 07 and 2 cases of 08.
Wow.
How was the next 2 years?
2008 wasn't bad. Quality was better.
Well, see, maybe you made a difference in that Q&A department, realized their faults.
But at the time, I was like, I didn't keep any of it. I bought it and sold everything I pulled, hoping to, because, higher priced product, you get one of the big name rookies, you get a really nice card, you hope to make your money back. Yeah, well, that didn't work. At all.
All those Jerome Simpson and Andre Caldwell patch cards.
Believe it or not, I didn't do horrible. But when you open a new product, that's usually the best time to sell stuff, because it's at the hype of they're brand new to the market. It's typically when people will pay the higher price. Some of the guys I wish I would have sat on and sold a little bit later, because I probably would have done a little bit better. But it was fun to open. I'll say that much. And it was some nice cards. But yeah, I failed miserably. I think I lost. So in the 07 case, my best card was Buster Davis 101 RPA. Sold it for $350, which wasn't bad.
No.
But I still think I lost $400 from that case. And then on the 2 08 cases, I think I lost $700. That hurt.
Well, at least you sold the Buster Davis early on, because
Yes.
his nickname certainly was his NFL career.
Exactly. Buster. Buster.
Oh.
Buster, I don't even know her.
Craig Buster Davis.
I'm trying to remember.
But yeah, one of my cases of 08 Exquisite is on YouTube, actually, that I had opened.
08 is that the year the Colts played the Bears and Devin Hester was the big star? The Super Bowl. Is that
was that 06 into 07?
Yeah, because Hester's big stuff was in 07 Chrome.
No, 06.
Yeah, I think it was
07
in 08, because in 08 the NHL All-Star game was in Dallas, and I was in Dallas watching the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah, I wasn't talking rookie card, Dave. I was talking about the Colts and Bears highlight cards were in 07 Topps Chrome.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I'm off by a year.
It happens.
Hey, Vinny, did Dave forward you the picture that I took at the Sens Penguins game?
Yes, I showed it to my wife as well.
Oh, awesome.
I was like, I wonder if his wife is catering to Mario as I speak.
She's there's an area in the arena called Club Bell that Bell Media sponsors, and it's the lower level behind the net at one end, and it's like a high end area. It's like there's a all you can eat buffet. your ticket is like about $400 and you get a buffet, and it's suite level seating, but in the seats. And so she was promoted this year, and she's the manager of Club Bell this year. But she's looked after some VIPs and things like that this year. But it's funny because with the new ownership in Ottawa, everybody was thinking this is the year it finally is going to turn around. Melnick's not there anymore to be in the way. We've got great ownership, and it's just like, here we go again. The team went on a 6-game losing streak, so finally the coach was fired. Jacques Martin's in there now, but the energy in the building, it felt like at that game, it felt like it felt like it was the 2017 playoffs all over again. Like when Pittsburgh and Ottawa had that 7-game Eastern Conference Final series in 16-17, like the energy in that building was like nothing I'd ever experienced, and the building is feeling like that again this year. It's like the games are all sold out, the crowd's enthusiastic. They just gotta put strings of W's together, but I mean, and there's always energy when Pittsburgh comes in. There's a lot of Crosby fans. There's a lot of Erik Karlsson fans in Ottawa. Erik Karlsson still lives in Ottawa, so it was a great night. That's for sure. But
I know I sent him the picture, and he's like, "Oh, cool, you're taking in a game." I said, "Hey, look at center ice." And he's like, "I should have probably looked at that before." I'm like, "Yeah, if I was in Ottawa, it would be national news." So
yeah, the NHL's been good this year. Like it's been an exciting. Yeah, I just saw that 7,000 days between coaching games in Ottawa. That's unbelievable. And what's funny is Jacques Martin. They said he's 71 or 74. He hasn't aged. Like he looks identical to when he coached in the 90s. Like it's eerie how the guy has not aged. It's fantastic, but he doesn't go out on the ice with the team anymore. He doesn't put the skates on. He sits in the stands and lets the assistants run things on the ice. So yeah, crazy night. Lots going on in hockey now too, with the World Juniors starting today. And yeah, Sidney Crosby is like just like that guy's. He's like it's so funny to see Ovechkin fall off a cliff this year, and Crosby's just as good as ever. And he's having one of his best seasons ever. And I mean, the guy's such a complete player. But I don't know. They got a lot of guys that are 35 plus on that team.
A lot of 35 plus. Malkin, Letang, Karlsson, Sid, Carter. There's a kid coming up named Brendan Yeager. They drafted him in the first round. He's got 41 points in 28 games in WHL, I think.
Yeah, I saw him play today, actually, in the World Juniors.
Yeah, he's on the third line, Joe said. I haven't seen a game yet. Hopefully I can catch one on a replay.
Yeah, the tournament started today, and I don't know if this guy's hit your radar yet, but this guy's I mean, you can't really compare him to Connor Bedard, but he's certainly putting up, like he's certainly drawing the same attention. That's Macklin Celebrini, and I don't know if he's on your guys' radar at all.
Joe told me about him. Yep.
Yeah, he's a guy that his dad is the his dad is the training I don't know if he's the strength and conditioning coach or if he's the nutritionist, or he's got some job with the Golden State Warriors. And he was working for the Canucks and he worked for the Seattle Seahawks for a while. And anyway, the family moved to San Jose. And after a year, Macklin was already he played in the same minor hockey program that Connor Bedard did. And he went to Shattuck St. Mary's in Minnesota. And he as a 15-year-old, he had insane numbers. He had like 147 points in 52 games. It was something Crosby-like what he did there. And they're talking about him there as in it's Crosby, Patrick Kane, Macklin Celebrini, like he's in that group of players that they're talking about. And then he went to the USHL and played for is that his Upper Deck? I can't see that very well. Yeah, he's a stud, that guy.
Let me see if I can.
But the thing is that he's been putting up monster numbers, and he's been playing against players 2 years older his whole life. So now he's at that's Upper Deck Team Canada World Juniors set from 2023. He's in that set. I think that's his base card. He's 17 years old, and he's playing for Boston U right now, and he's got 25 points in 15 games as a 17-year-old. Last year in the USHL as a 16-year-old playing against like 19-year-olds, he led the league in scoring. He was Rookie of the Year. He was the top forward of the year. Like this guy's just phenomenal. But he's not a player like Bedard. He's a different type of player. He's compared more to like Adam Fantilli. He's got a lot of Crosby in him. Crosby's strong on the puck. This kid has got an edge to his game. He's a penalty minute per game player. Like he's got some jam. But runaway number one pick. And the thing is at the World Juniors, I mean, it's mostly 19-year-olds. He's 17, and he's the best player on the ice by far. And he had a goal today in his first game against Finland. Canada won today. And there's some really good, like most of the players in this tournament are already drafted. There's a ton of first rounders playing. And if you're a collector and you're watching the World Juniors, Upper Deck does a CHL set every year. The 2023 CHL set has probably about 20% of the players in the tournament, maybe more, are from that set are playing in the tournament. Like it's an extremely high number of players in junior. There's a lot of college guys. There's a set that the IIHF puts out. It's a European set. I think the company is BY, and a lot of the American players on the team were on the USA team last year, and they're in that set. Canada's only got one player returning from last year's gold medal team, and that's Beck, the forward. But a ton of guys that have already been drafted. A lot of them are in that CHL set, but the Team Canada set has got a lot of them too. So, but as far as for collectors to really pay attention to this tournament, I mean in Canada the whole world stops for this tournament. It's like our March Madness. It's like the whole country's watching this and following along. But there's the USA program, the USA team has some amazing players that are they're already first round draft picks that are going to be big stars. So if you get a chance to catch any of the games, I don't know where you guys get it. Like TSN covers all the games here, but I don't know in the US. NHL Network probably. I mean, I don't know, where would you guys get these games?
Either the NHL Network or I get Hockey Night in Canada, being in my area since we're so close to Canada. I get what is it? The CBC. So that's how I get Hockey Night in Canada. I don't know if I get TSN. I'll have to look.
Yeah, TSN is cable and subscription only. It's not over the air, so you wouldn't get that. But NHL Network would probably be showing the World Junior games. But but there's a ton of. I don't think any of the guys have had rookie cards yet, but there's 4 guys on the Canadian team that have played in the NHL so far. So they'll probably be in Series 2. I haven't seen Upper Decks Series 2 for 23-24 for their young guns yet. But like Fraser Minton from the Leafs, Matthew Poitras from the Bruins, they've played. There's a couple other guys that have played, but there's some high end talent. A couple of big name goalies in this tournament too. There's a few guys too. Slovakia has a goalie. Chicago drafted him. Adam Gajan, his name is, and he's playing at the end of this tournament. I don't know. You might know who he is, Dave, because he's Slovakian. He was Slovakia's goalie last year when they went on a run in this tournament. But he's going to Minnesota Duluth to play, and the Blackhawks have drafted him, and he's going to be a big star too. So if if you're a collector and you want to kind of get a if you want to get up, if you want to get up early, and like the tournaments in Sweden, I'm in Eastern time. The Canada-Finland game was 8 a.m. But if you're Western, Saul Paul just said that 6 a.m. their time for the first games. But it's a really good opportunity for you to get a handle on who some of these guys are. The unfortunate thing is the Russians aren't there again. They're kicked out of the tournament until this thing in the Ukraine gets settled, and I don't see an end to that anytime in the near future. So we won't get a chance to see the Russian players, but there's some really great players. If you're watching the USA team, there's one team there's one line that really intrigues the hell out of me. It's Gabe Perreault he's a Rangers draft pick. His dad is Yannick Perreault that played in the NHL about a generation ago. He's on the line with a guy named Ryan Leonard. He's a Capitals draft pick, and then another guy, Will Smith, who's a Sharks draft pick. They were the top line in the U18 championships a couple years ago when USA won gold, and they stayed together as a line, and they all went to Boston College, and they're playing at Boston College as a line, and now they're a line on at the World Juniors, and they're tearing it up. So Canada, Sweden, and USA are the 3 teams to beat, and Snuggerud also, he got a goal today. That's Jimmy Snuggerud. He's a St. Louis draft pick. There was a Dave Snuggerud in the NHL. I was wondering if that's his son or if there's a relation. I don't know if there is or not, but I mean, Snuggerud is not exactly Smith or Jones in the phone book, like there can't be a lot of pages in the phone book for Snuggerud, and yeah. So
I remember watching Snuggerud play high school here in Minnesota at the state tournament, and just being
now, is that Jimmy that's playing now that you're talking about?
Yep.
Yeah, so he was like a total stud in high school, wasn't he?
Oh my God, just a whirling dervish on the ice, just out there and causing havoc and just flying past people. And I mean, you're trying to hip check him, and you weren't gonna. He was just too quick and too crafty with that puck. But everybody's like, "Oh, he's too small. He's too small. He's too small." But again, don't ever say that, because when you start hearing that all the time, it's prove those detractors wrong. But and I remember that Boston College line from last year's NHL draft, because I think they all went pretty high, top 15-ish, and that's all you heard was that line, and then all these kids like playing together for how long. It's like, well, you're going to have success when that you're pretty much doing you're going from high school, juniors, the USA team to college. So yeah, it's fun to watch that stuff. Again, it's NHL Network. I don't have, I believe, the ability on any of my streaming platforms to watch that. So I'll have to find somewhere to pick up replays. Somebody's got to have something somewhere that I can watch, because that's always fun. It's always fast, quick hockey, and fun to see who gels the quickest.
The tournament is here in Ottawa next year. So I have a complete hockey card boner over that. Like it's like I'm so excited that I'll probably be at every game. So it's yeah. There's Lane Hudson. Can you, Steve? Can you put that comment back up? Yeah. So Lane Hudson played. He's buddies. He's like basically best friends with Macklin Celebrini, and they played at Shattuck St. Mary's together, and they were very close buddies, and they were talking before the tournament about getting to play against each other and how much fun that was going to be, and yeah, he's a guy that's I mean, now everybody that's a defenseman coming up, as far as hobby talk goes, is going to be compared to Cale Makar. And Lane Hudson is a 200-foot player who's dynamic offensively, but he's also responsibly defensively. So you know, I mean, hockey, it's all about scoring and goaltending. The defenseman, you've got to be very special to make a dent in the hobby. But Lane Hudson is pretty good with that. And their first line for the USA team, they've got like Rucker McGrory. I think he was a Winnipeg pick. He was a first rounder, and they've got this other guy, Cutter Gauthier, who was picked 5th overall by the Flyers last year, and then Snuggerud's on that line too. And I don't know how. I know Snuggerud was a first round pick of St. Louis. I can't remember how deep he went. I think he was about 15th maybe. But I mean, the USA team is loaded with prospects and stars, and then Trey Augustine, their goalie. He's another Montreal draft pick. So you know, he's good too. The kid that played for Canada today, in that, oh boy, I can't remember his name. Somebody that saw the game will put his name up. He's top goalie in one of the top goalies in the Quebec League, but he's only 5'11". So he's been in the draft twice and been overlooked. Dominic yeah, I can't remember his name. But he's, you know, I mean, it's like one of those things where it's like baseball pitchers now. Everybody's 6'6", like everybody's a big Stepford pitcher. You don't see a guy like Pedro Martinez. What was he, like 5'10"? You don't see a guy like that pitching anymore because nobody gets a chance. Well, if you're 5'11" and you're a goalie, you're not going to get drafted in the NHL. You might catch on as a walk-on the long way around, but everybody wants everybody wants Ben Bishop or Robin Lerner or Leonard or you know, like everybody wants a 6'6" goalie. Thatcher Demko in Vancouver is a big guy, and he's going to win the Vezina this year. I mean, he's having a phenomenal year, but I mean, all these guys are huge. So to see somebody that's smaller to make it, that's a long shot. But yeah, the tournament should be really good. If you guys come to Ottawa next year for the tournament, I mean, you should do your show from Ottawa. That would be a lot of fun, I think. Get you out skating on the canal if it ever freezes again, thanks to global warming, and then eat some poutine and some beaver tail and drink some Molson or Labatt's and do the show. I think it would be a lot of fun. Ottawa's got the best shawarma in North America also. That's what I know. You guys talk about show food all the time when before shows. If you're ever in Ottawa has the best shawarma in North America because we have like 100,000 Lebanese Canadians here. Shawarma is like the national food of Ottawa. It's kind of odd, but that's what it is. So yeah, Dave Snuggerud is so Jimmy Snuggerud is Dave Snuggerud's son. I wondered if they were related. Kind of have to be.
Yeah, that You said it's not Johnson or a Smith or a Jones or an Anderson. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
there's a couple. There's a couple that are littered in the Facebook in the phone book.
Maverick Lamoureux, that's a Pennsylvania beer, isn't it? Yingling. How do you say it?
Yingling.
Yeah, that's like is that like a Philly beer or a?
It is.
I think of Interstate 81 when I see that beer.
It is. It is from Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Again, Amish.
We're the first state west of the Mississippi to get it.
Nice.
So Jeff probably doesn't know about Millard. That's a Chicago staple, Ty. That's a Chicago staple.
Oh yeah.
Ugh.
So Maverick Lamoureux, 6'7" defenseman. A lot of people compared him to Tyler Myers just because of his size and everything, but he's a big beastie guy. Arizona Coyotes drafted him, and he's. I don't think he's the number one. I don't think he's the number one defenseman on that team. The kid drafted by Columbus, Matechuk, is probably like the guy on that team, but Lamoureux's got some, he's got some sandpaper, and he throws it like he polices the front of the net very well, and he is also like he's kind of like a Chris Pronger. Chris Pronger was a lot like him when Chris Pronger was coming up, because Chris Pronger wasn't like a big, massive beast. Maybe he's a little bit bigger. There's two defensemen on the Canadian team. Actually, I've known these kids since they're about 11 or 12 years old, because I know their dads. And one of them is Oliver Bonk, who's Radek Bonk's son. And Oliver was a first-round pick with the Flyers last year, and I've known Oliver since he was about 11. And I went to a game with his dad, and there was actually a bunch of kids that I was coaching football who were playing AA and AAA hockey, and so I went to see some of the kids I coach football just to see them in a game, and Oliver was playing in the game, and even as like a U12, he was a rugged, tough defenseman, and the nicest, politest kid in the world. Like, you just didn't see that he would have that kind of Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing going on with the way he played hockey. And in Canada, they took body contact and hitting out until you're 12 years old. So, which was really a mistake, because I think that you need to grow up hitting and learn. It's not about hitting; it's learning how to get hit. It's learning how to defend yourself, protect yourself. It's learning how to stay in control. Like you have to teach that and learn that. And when I played hockey, we started hitting at 8 years old. And it's like you grow up with it, and it's no big deal. But if you take that out and then you introduce it as a 12-year-old, like that's a mistake, I think. And one thing that Radek told me was that they lived in what they call Czechia now. They moved back there, and Oliver played for his first 2 or 3 years. He played minor hockey over there, where they have full body contact from age 6 on. So he was that far ahead as far as the physical play. But he's a great skater. He's got a great shot. He's positionally strong, and he's I was with Radek about 2 weeks ago, and I asked him, like, you see where Oliver is, how, I told Radek, you were 17 when I met you, because you were playing for Las Vegas, and you were, going to be a first round draft pick in the NFL. That's the first time I interviewed, or in the NHL. That's the first time I interviewed him. And I said, where does he compare to you now? And he just looked at me and he kind of laughed, and he said, when I was 17, I was 6'3", 220. And Oliver's not 6'3", 220. So kind of a, it was kind of, he had this grin on his face. And the other kid that I know is Jorian Donovan. I live in a little town, Richmond, about 15 or 20 miles outside of Ottawa, about 5,000 people. And Jorian is from this town, and his dad, Sean Donovan, played in the NHL. And I've known Jorian since he was a kid too. And he was like the last cut of the team, but then somebody got hurt and they called him up and said, get on a plane, come to Sweden. So he's playing too. And good to see him. Good to see him getting a shot because, again, both of those kids are such good kids, and they're hard workers. They've got great hockey bloodlines, but they work their asses off. And so it's good to see. It's good to see kids like that get a shot, and being part of this World Junior Tournament. I mean, what an incredible experience for these kids to go through. I mean, it's a week. It's 10 days or 12 days or whatever it is. I mean, it's 12 days that'll stay with them for the rest of their lives. Is one of the highlights of their life. So I really hope they have fun and enjoy themselves. They're in Gothenburg, Sweden, which is Daniel Alfredsson's hometown too. So for the guys from Ottawa, that's pretty special. It's also the hometown of Ace of Base. And Dave, I guarantee you don't have any Ace of Base in your vinyl collection.
I have like 3 vinyl or 3 records, and they're all of Dickie Lee.
Okay, so you don't have Ace of Base. So
no, I know plenty of Ace of Base, but I mean it's not in the collection.
No, okay, that's good. And yeah, so yeah, the World Juniors are. There's another kid for Canada too. Jordan Dumais is another kid that's. He plays in the QMJHL, and he's playing Major Junior A, and he's got 48 points in 21 games this year, and he's playing with Macklin Celebrini and with the other kid there, Fraser Minton. That's the Toronto Maple Leafs second round pick, and that line is going to tear it up. And but this kid Dumais, like, he's a playmaker, and he's very dynamic, and those are the kinds of guys that really turn collectors on, like the guys that can put up big numbers and they're flashy and exciting and they make things happen. I mean, he's that type of guy. And when you look at some of the guys that have been in this tournament in the past, some of those guys, like the most dominant players I've ever seen in this tournament are probably Peter Forsberg and Marcus Naslund when they played for Sweden. And then you get some guys that are dominant that have, they don't do as much at the NHL that you would expect, like Patrick Stepan played for the Rangers for a while. Like he had massive numbers when he played for USA in the World Juniors. I think he was the tournament MVP or leading scorer, and a guy that just hasn't put it all together at the pro level. I mean, he's a veteran now, but I really, yeah. Anyway, I mean, I'm just kind of randomly throwing names out here, but for anybody watching the show, like if you're a collector and you want to kind of take a deeper hobby dive into these guys, the 2023 Team Canada set and the 2023 Upper Deck CHL set is loaded with guys from the World Junior Tournament. So I would, what I would do is, and I'm kind of kicking myself I haven't done this, is I would put that set in a binder and sit there flipping through it while I'm watching the tournament and having a cold one. That's a fun thing to do. So yeah, last year Peter Forsberg had, I don't think it was 15 points versus Japan, but it was something unreal. I think Forsberg's record in 7 games is 31 points. And Japan was one of the teams that it might have been 9 or 10. I think he kind of went Daryl Sittler on them, put up big numbers, but yeah, Forsberg and Naslund, and then the next 2 guys would probably be Eric Lindros and Connor Bedard. Those are the big guns. And Connor Bedard last year was incredible, and again, as a 17-year-old, just dominating a tournament filled with 19 and 20-year-olds. So good on him. Did you guys see his Michigan lacrosse goal the other night? He and Zegras got one the same night, and it's like
Both amazing.
if you're an undersized rookie in the NHL and you pull that shit off, you got to have a pair of stones. Like to do that. I mean, has there been a hockey card with a photo of a lacrosse goal yet?
I don't recall one yet.
I haven't seen one.
No.
I'd get it if Zegers did it. I like that kid.
Yeah.
He's very underrated, and he had some difficulties earlier in the year, and I just hope he comes back with a vengeance. I picked up his young gun, $8
That's a steal.
for I got it on $8 for a raw one. And I have systematically gained 8 or 10 boxes of retail of that year for $30 a pop.
Wow.
And I'm just sitting there and I'm going to open some. My hefty goal for the rest of my hobby career is to collect all the young guns. I'm missing a lot of them, so it's going to take me a while.
I'm working on the young guns too. And you know what? I mean, Series 2 Young Guns this year when it comes out, between Bedard and Logan Cooley, because Logan Cooley is going to be an absolute stud in the NHL. He's in Arizona. He could be playing in this tournament for USA, just like Bedard could be playing for Canada. But I mean, between Cooley and Bedard, I mean that's going to be a hot box to get.
$300 pre-sale hobby.
Yeah,
I don't see how they're going to be able to sustain the price, but $300 for a hobby is just. I don't know how they're going to sustain that. It's an $80 box.
and you know what? Series 1, give it a couple of years because there's some guys in Series 1. Like everybody was complaining in Young Guns that there's no big guy driving. I mean, I know that there were some Connor Bedard Easter eggs that were planted in Series 1 hockey for Young Guns, but there's a guy that I think is going to be like superstar in Series 1 that nobody's really paying attention to, and that's a goalie named Dustin Wolf. He's a goalie for the Calgary Flames. Because of the contracts that they have with the other two goalies in Calgary, where they're one-way contracts, he's kind of buried in the minors right now unless somebody's hurt. But he has played a few games this year and he's looked great. But he's been the top goalie in the AHL for the last 2 years, and he's got a fantastic background. And Dustin Wolf is going to be like a stud in the NHL. And if they can't find room for him in Calgary, they'll trade him to somebody and he'll have a shot, and he'll be a big one. And I mean, most people that are collecting Series 1 don't even know about him, or they might have heard a little bit about him. But I mean, he's a goalie in the minors. Nobody's really paying attention. And I think that's, you guys talked earlier about boxes that are so much when they come out, but then 2 years later, I think Upper Deck Series 1 is going to be one of those boxes that's going to be half of the price that it's worth now in a couple of years, and then get that product then, because that's when those young guns are going to start to that's when they're going to start to come to fruition. But I think Dustin Wolf is the one guy in that set that's going to be like, he's the one that's going to have wow factor.
Yeah, with Markstrom out there in his contract, unless they can move that, and everybody's so far up against the cap, you can't really. You're trading him, you're going to take somebody back in return that you really don't want.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's yeah. If they trade Wolf, that's going to be a mistake on their part, because I think at some point they're going to. It's not going to be a tear down completely, but they need to shuffle some things around, because things just aren't working like they were 2 years ago when they had Kachuk and they had traded him away for Huberto, and that deal just did not work out for them at all. or it hasn't worked out for them yet.
Yeah. Huberdeau's such a great player, though. I saw him play this year. Calgary's been through Ottawa. I went to the game and saw him play, and like he's still so good.
Hmm.
Let me put my glasses on to see what he's got there.
$1 for Exquisite. I got him, Patrick Kane, and Sid for $5.25 total.
Wow.
And he was the 325. Those other two were $1 a piece.
That's
I don't know about. I'm sure people should be aware. This guy is going to go down as hands down after Joey Mullen and Mike Modano. He's going to pass them if he hasn't already. He's going to go down as the greatest U.S. born hockey player in a long time until Matthews takes his place. So,
yeah, and Matthews, look what he's doing this year.
he's
Like 31 goals this year or something crazy. Like unbelievable.
This is the greatest sport that an absolute nobody can come up and be an absolute. It's not what. There's only so many people that watch the game. Like I used to watch Canada Juniors all the time. I watched the Olympics. I try to get back into the junior stuff. Dave bought me that book for Christmas. I talked to Joe a lot about it. But if you watch it, it's like prospecting. We don't have a Bowman, and I've mentioned it on the show before. Will one day CHL for Upper Deck become like Bowman Draft is for baseball? Probably not. But it's a good way to see who's coming up. And I kind of watch guys, and I want those sleeper guys because I don't want to hashtag invest, but I kind of want to get a guy like that. If you would have got, who was it? Trying to think. Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner was slept on for a long time. I really like Mitch Marner. But my problem is I chose Braden Point, who's another stud, point-a-game kid that gets no love in the hobby, just like Stamkos doesn't get any love in the hobby. They get some, but not much. But here's a guy, and then once the playoffs comes around, he's like a 3-point-a-game player.
Yeah.
People, who you collect? It's like everything is McDavid, and up to this year, Sid was put on some back burner 7 ovens away, and it's Ovi. Now Ovi's tanking, and Sid stuff's not going up.
Yeah.
So Sid stuff over time, if you start grabbing this here, this there, somebody's eventually going to realize in this hobby that it's not the Mac Jones and who Real Grier and all these people that are going to do anything. It's these kids that are going to come really out there and be shooters that I don't understand it. It just boggles my mind.
You can't compare hockey to football.
Well, yeah, really can't because people don't.
It's no different though. You can't compare basketball to baseball. Like every sport is its own little.
Yeah,
it's got its own little quirks when it comes to the younger guys or the top tier players.
And I'm just glad there's not a stink line, a home ec clothes, and a mojo, and all that in hockey because I'd be in trouble.
Floating head.
Yeah, well, yeah, this is true. But I did pick this up, Jeff, the other day, and I thought of you. A Shane Wright to 66 out of stature rookie. But it looks like I don't know what's up with him. I don't know where he's doing or what he's playing. I don't know if he's hurt.
He's going to take a while the thing is with Shane Wright and that whole group is that's the age group that got really messed up by COVID.
Yeah.
it's like their draft year was they were coming into the draft just when that was the season that was either canceled or they were allowed to play like 12 games or something disgusting.
Yeah.
And Shane Wright, when he was like 15 or 16, Shane Wright was like, he's going to be number one franchise player, whatever. And he's just hit a bit of a wall. He was the captain of the Team Canada junior team last year. They won gold. But when you look at what Connor Bedard did and Shane Wright did, and they're on the ice at the same time together, I mean, they were head and shoulders different. And Shane Wright was really discouraged and kind of angry that he didn't go first overall because before Montreal picked Slafkovsky, it was like all the talk was about Shane Wright going to 1 overall, and Upper Deck was promoting the hell out of Shane Wright. And he dropped to number 4 to Ron Francis was like, well, this is great. That's the guy we would have wanted. But he's been slow to develop, but he's not the only guy. Alex Lafreniere is finally starting to do something with the Rangers this year, but still not nearly enough. Quentin Byfield is starting to look not too bad in LA. The Kings are fantastic, but it's not enough. And when you compare what these guys were hyped for, Shane Wright, if you take away Shane Wright's hype, he's a good player, but he's got a way to go. And it's frustrating when you see some of the other rookies jump in. Like, who would you rather take? Would you rather have Shane Wright on your team or a guy like Logan Cooley? Logan Cooley's like a freaking phenomenal. Would you rather have Cole Caulfield in Montreal? He's another great player. These guys are guys that are picked behind, or they weren't number 1 projections overall. But I don't know. But I mean, that's the thing. We talked about it in football. You look at some of these guys that are considered busts out of the gate, and then what happens when they start to do well? They go through their initial high price and then they drop down to nothing and then they build back up again. And that's what Mayfield's done. And Shane Wright, I hope he does that too, because you want to see the kid do well. But I don't know. And I know you guys brought up Alexander Daig earlier. I can't remember what the discussion and context was, but Daig's another guy here in Ottawa and good guy. And knew him back when I was at Pinnacle because he was a spokesman for us in the whole nurse's dress outfit era. And the thing with Daig is that you can't call him a bust. I mean, is he a bust compared to what you expect from a number 1 pick with a big contract? Probably. But I mean, here's a guy that played more than 600 games at the NHL. He got his fair share of points. He went over to Europe and did really well over there. I mean, he had a good hockey career. If he was a middle round pick, he would have been, nobody would be saying anything. They'd be saying, oh yeah, he was a pretty good player. But it's just because the expectations placed on him. And it's because he was an 18-year-old and they threw him into the NHL on an expansion team without getting him ready to play pro. I mean, everything went against him during his career, and then he just also had other interests. I mean, I think he got kind of disillusioned with hockey and didn't enjoy it anymore. And then he started getting into acting. He runs a film production company in Montreal right now. Like he's got on with a different career. He's not involved with hockey at all. It's too bad when somebody like that, like Ryan Leaf, was a full-on bust, just because, and he imploded. It was a spectacular implosion, and good for Ryan Leaf that he's kind of picked himself up and he's got a really good career in football as a broadcaster now. Like he's amazing on XM radio. He's really good as a commentator on games. But when you look at guys that are busts, it's a shame that happens, and I mean, Daig had some pretty good years. Now the one thing I wanted to my thoughts going from here to here to here to here, and when Daig played for Ottawa. There was a game between Buffalo and Ottawa, and there was a card of Pierre Turgeon. Pierre Turgeon or Sylvain Turgeon? It was Pierre Turgeon made, and Patrick Kane is the 6-year-old kid in the corner.
Sylvain Turgeon.
It was Sylvain Turgeon for Ottawa.
Yeah.
And I think Doug Bodger's in that photo, and I think maybe Dale Howarchuk, or I can't remember who the guys in the photo are. But Patrick Kane signing with Detroit, and Detroit's got such a crazy offensive team, a lot of upside. He's back playing with Alex DeBrincat, who he played with for years in Chicago, and those guys were phenomenal together. And Lucas Raymond is there, and Dylan Larkin is there. I mean, they've got a fantastic team, and I think that pinnacle card of Patrick Kane is gonna blow up. I say the card of Patrick Kane. It's just because he's a 6-year-old kid in the photo. But I think that card is going to take on some legs, especially if Detroit makes a run in the playoffs and Patrick Kane is a factor in it. And do you have a copy of that card? I know what you're doing, Vinny. Yeah. So if you haven't seen the card and you're watching, look at the kid right above the little kid sitting on his dad's lap in the top corner. So that's Sylvain Turgeon. That's Doug Bodger, number 8. That's Howarchuk, number 10. And Turgeon is getting tripped. And Kane is sitting on his dad's lap. His dad worked for a high-end car dealership. I think it was either Audi or BMW. And he sold cars to a lot of the Sabres players. So he had a partial season ticket package. And so that's how they ended up there. Probably more than half of our photos in Pinnacle at that time were shot in Buffalo by the Sabres photographer. So that's how he ended up on the card. But the thing that's interesting, can you hold the card up one more time? I want to talk about the card just for a sec, because this always fascinated me. I'm so demanding here.
No, you're going to tell about the compromising position he was in.
Exactly. So the NHLPA had guidelines that we had to follow, and you cannot have our rules where you cannot picture a player on his card in a position where he's being physically taken advantage of, and Sylvain Turgeon's tripped in that photo, and again, that's one of those weird Pinnacle things. It's like we're looking at the card and it's like, well, yeah, you can't really use that card because he's being taken advantage of. We put it in anyway, and the NHLPA was, I guess, just rushing things through and approved it. And I had no idea. Of course, nobody had any idea that the 6-year-old kid in the corner is going to become. There's the. Now, what is that? Museum collection? Is that
ring collection?
Ring collection.
Ring collection with the Dufex card. That technology cost Pinnacle about 2 months per product to do. So we could never get up-to-date rookies because we were using and investing in that technology, and it took at least 2 months for those cards to be made in the parallels, which was really frustrating. But getting back to the Kane card, I was at the NHL draft in Columbus the year that Kane went number 1 overall, and I was talking to his dad, and his dad pulled that card out. I told his dad I worked for Pinnacle, and he said, "Do you remember this card?" He says, "That's my son Patrick." And I was like, "Oh my God," I had no idea. That was the first time I had ever heard that Patrick Kane was on a hockey card when he was 6 years old. And that card has kind of taken a life of its own. It's turned a 15-cent card into
$35 raw, and they won $350 for that PSA 9
The ring
collection.
35 raw is a pretty good deal because I've seen it selling at shows for a lot more than that.
So my wife, when we were on that time and told that story, my wife went out and bought that card for me.
So she's going to go buy you another one. She's going to go buy you another one now.
I don't know. She might not be buying me many cards. So
Tell me what card.
I told
Tell
her.
me what card you want, and I'll talk about it. So she'll go buy it.
I said, remember you bought me that Patrick Kane card that's on the Sylvan Turgeon where he's a little kid? And he said, Jeff said, I'll talk about another card you want, so she buys you that one too.
Mirror Gold, Mario Lemieux.
Yeah, Mirror Gold, Mary Lemieux.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you.
She tried to win that card twice, and she put big coin on it, and she still lost. And man, was she pissed.
Run for the top.
Not to shamelessly pimp out sportscollectorsdaily.com, but you can read all kinds of stuff that I've written on sportscollectors.com, including the Geddy Lee interview, which we never got to tonight. But there's a story that I wrote during the Expo in Toronto about Les Binkley, who was the goalie for the Penguins in the 60s. And I wrote about, he was an autograph guest. He's like 89 years old or 90 years old. And he was an autograph guest at the Expo. And it's like, it was so weird because 1960s Penguins goalie Les Binkley is there with Brett Hull, Adam Oates, Martin Brodeur. It was Scott Stevens. It was like this lineup of Hall of Famers and Les Binkley, who nobody under 50 has any clue who he is. And Les Binkley was a 33-year-old rookie when expansion happened in '67, and was the goalie that won Pittsburgh's first playoff series. Back when they expanded from 6 to 12 teams, they put all the expansion teams in the West and the regular teams in the East, so that it was that's why St. Louis was in the first three, the Stanley Cup Finals, the first 3 years that they were in the league. And Les Binkley ended up here in Ottawa when WHA came in 1972. Ottawa had a team called the Nationals, and Les Binkley was our goalie. And then that team moved to Toronto, and he was the goalie for the Toronto Toros, which is why I guess he was at the show. He won a couple of Stanley Cup rings with the Penguins in 91, 92, 93, I guess, as their goalie coach, and he was a scout. But anyway, the reason I wrote about him was because the very first pack of cards I opened when I was 5 years old, the very first pack of cards, I remember it to this day. And the very first card in the very first pack was Les Binkley, and I still have the card. It's like, I think it was in my back pocket for a full year. I mean, playing in the snow with it in the back pocket, like it got wet, it got wrinkled, it's still somewhat intact. And I always say that, like Ted DiBiase says, everything has a price, everything's for sale, but I will have that card in my pocket when I'm buried, when I die, because I'm not giving up that Les Binkley card, because that pack of cards changed my life and turned me into a collector. And I don't ever want to lose that card and give that up. So, so yeah, that's a Pittsburgh Penguins story for you there, Vinny. But yeah, if you want to read the story on that, it's on sportscollectorsdaily.com. So
Yeah, we'll definitely have to make sure that when we have you back on, we give you an ample amount of time to talk about the Geddy Lee interview. I started reading the article the other day, and I never went back to finish it because I got busy. But it's on my list to do, because I know you were Dave shared y'all's text interaction, and how you had expressed that you had quite the tent in your pants in preparation for that interview. Which none of us blame you, because
tell you what, as we say up here, I was standing on guard for the 100%, and but that was just an exciting thing to be able to interview Geddy Lee, and So for him to talk about how he became a collector and his passion for collecting, we talked about he's very much against autograph authentication, because I mean he signs autographs and he has a collection of thousands of autograph baseballs and photos and all kinds of things, and he said it's not really fair because when he said, for example, when I sit down and do an autograph signing, I take my time and I sign it properly, but then when I'm leaving a public event and people are sticking programs and photos in front of me, your signature is just a scribble in passing. You do what you can. But he loves the Babe Ruth era. He's very fascinated with Babe Ruth. That was the first autographed baseball he got. And the interesting story about Babe Ruth, I don't know if you guys know about this, but Babe Ruth was left-handed, obviously, left-handed pitcher and whatever, but he always wrote with his right hand. He signed all his autographs with his right hand, and Babe Ruth's penmanship is impeccable on his autograph. But at the reform school that he was sent to by his parents, they considered it satanic if you wrote with your left hand. That was a sign of being possessed. So they basically beat him until he wrote right-handed. And then 110 or 115, 120 years ago, that was pretty much common. There were a lot of left-handed people that wrote with the right hand back then. But yeah, he said, and it's funny because he brought it up and he was very passionate about it, talking about it. But he was very much saying that he really disagrees with an authentication service because he says there are so many different types of autographs for everybody depending on where you get them. And I mean, I even look at I'm just going to tilt my screen up. This is my Ottawa Senators wall up here of all, you can't see much of it, but there's some, all of these photos. Some of them are personalized, like there's a Wade Redden there that's personalized. There's a Mike Hoffman that's personalized over here. But some of those autographs that you would get at a signing or from Upper Deck Authenticated or from something like that, they're a lot different than when you stick an 8x10 in front of somebody at the arena.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and if you're some if you're some jabroni sitting there in a grading company's storage, whatever kind of room they sit in, and they're comparing signatures, there could be a lot of these autographs on my wall might come back as not real because they're not they're not what these guys would compare them to. Like there has to be different levels of signatures, and he's very much against authentication. That really surprised me because that's it's something I never really thought of before. And he also talked about how it's so hard to keep track of everything, especially new, because people now, very few people that are athletes now have signatures that are identifiable. And he said, like I'll come back from a trip or something, and I might have gone to a bunch of games, and I come home with 15 or 20 baseballs, and he says, unless I tag them as I get them, I don't know who they're from because I can't read the autographs. You have to research and compare signatures because they're scribbles. And he said that, becoming a collector and especially having an appreciation for the penmanship of the players from the 1920s and 30s has really made him conscious when he's signing autographs of making sure that people would know that it's his autograph instead of just a scribble or some symbol of some kind. Have I ever spoke to Ken Dryden about his thoughts on autographs? Actually, no, I haven't. I have spoken to Ken Dryden before a few times, but never his thoughts on autographs. I know he does not do shows. He does not sign things through the mail. I have one Ken Dryden autograph in my collection that I actually got when I played minor hockey. He was a guest speaker at our banquet, and I got a signed thing from him. But as far as him talking about autographs in the hobby. I've never spoken to him about that, but I do know that he's one guy. He's one of the toughest Hall of Fame signatures to get, and just one of those guys that doesn't sign. So it's yeah. So but anyway, yeah, we can talk about the Geddy Lee thing for quite a while because just like sitting down and talking to him is like sitting down and talking to you guys. It's like this is a guy that just loves collecting, and it's like you immediately take away he's a famous rock star because he's a collector and he loves collecting and he loves baseball, and to have a guy like that, you don't expect a guy like that to love baseball. It's like if you go to a Motley Crue concert or something like that, and you meet Mick Mars and he tells you he's a baseball fanatic. Like you wouldn't see that coming. These guys are like rock stars, and you don't equate rock stars and sports that much. I mean, some you do. Like Bon Jovi has got a football connection, and there's some guys that have sports connections, but Geddy Lee says he was never an athlete. He never played anything, but he just liked to watch baseball on TV when he was a kid, and he fell in love with the game, and he started scoring games, and grew up as a Tigers fan, and started collecting stuff. So,
And Vinny's choking to death. I think it went down the wrong pipe.
yeah, that's epic YouTube. Like clip that and put it on.
Right?
Make that an Instagram. Make me go viral.
Yeah, if we ever had more time on our hands, we'd actually do a year in review type of montage with all the, I don't want to call them the gag reels, but off the wall comments, words taken out of context, because there's always plenty of those.
So there's a comment there about Geddy Lee. And guys, if you're watching the show, I can't see what's going on in the chat comments. I can only see the comments when they come up underneath this. So there's the comment, Geddy Lee sits behind home plate a lot at Blue Jays games, and he scores every game. And he was talking about how much he loves scoring games. And do you remember during COVID, the Jays played all their games in Buffalo in front of no fans? They actually put a cutout of Geddy Lee in one of the seats behind home plate in Buffalo, and with him, like a cutout of Geddy Lee scoring the game, and it was kind of a funny thing. But one thing I talked to him about is he's liquidating a lot of his collection, and he saves all the scorebooks and everything. And I said, don't you think that it would be really cool for a collector? Because one thing he was talking about with his collection was, he doesn't want to, everything's worth, he sold his Shoeless Joe Jackson autograph ball. And I mean, Shoeless Joe Jackson only signed about 20 autographs in his whole life because he was very illiterate. And so there aren't a lot of Shoeless Joe Jackson items out there. Most of the stuff that's out there is actually signed by his wife. But Geddy Lee said, when I'm selling my collection, I want to put stuff out there that like the average person that can only spend $50 or $100 can buy. And I told him, like, you've got all these scorebooks. I mean, if I'm a fan and say my favorite player is Aaron Judge, how cool would it be for me to have a score sheet from a game that Aaron Judge is playing in, a Yankees-Toronto game, that was scored by Geddy Lee? Like, you could just sign the score thing and like I would frame that in a heartbeat and put that up.
Oh, I'd buy one.
Oh yeah. My God, it would be like the greatest. So he was like, yeah, that's a great idea. And so I hope someday he does it. And of course he will never remember the conversation he had with me, but I certainly want to take credit for that full on. But he was such an amazing guy. to talk to. And I hope when you finish there's 2 stories on sportscollectorsdaily.com about the interview. One about his passion for collecting, and then another one about him talking about autographs. And I used some of my old interviews in that too. Like I interviewed Sean Casey years and years ago about autographs, and I talked about Babe Ruth when I went to the Babe Ruth Museum in Baltimore and got some information on that years ago. And like I really hope that when you read that story, I hope you can really feel the connection and the passion that this guy has for it. And the one thing that I loved that he said was I mean, he's very much on the same page as all of us. I mean, he loves collecting. He loves talking to collectors. He loves the relationships you build for collectors. I think it becomes a bit of an escape for him because he doesn't have to be a superstar rock celebrity. He's just a collector like everyone else. He just happens to have both Johnny Vandermeer no-hit balls and you know, like, I mean, he's got some really crazy stuff but the one thing that I really liked that he said was the autographs to him are such a connection to the players, like especially from the era that he loves, which is like, you know, the Ty Cobb, Honus Wagner, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig era, Hank Greenberg, like up through Jackie Robinson. He has a lot of stuff from the Negro Leagues that he has, and he's donated millions of dollars to the Negro League Museum that Bob Kendrick runs in Kansas City. And to be able to hear him talk about it, and then talk about how, you know, he has this autograph of, you know, whoever from the 1920s, and he says, I feel a personal connection because of this autograph, and it's so refreshing because you know, I have my Ottawa Senators autograph wall, and I don't give a rat's ass if any of these autographs are worth any more than $5. They're just like the coolest things to me. It's a connection to the team. I don't collect for investment. I do have some things that are worth some money, and there are things that I paid some money for, but it's just because I love them. And for him, it's the same thing. Like he has items that are $10 items beside items that are $1 million items in his collecting room. And if you see the story, you know, picture of him sitting in his chair in his baseball memorabilia room, and it's just like, wow. And you okay there, Vinny?
Getting over a respiratory infection.
Okay.
So I'm just a coughing machine. That's why I keep muting myself.
Right.
And apparently a Hershey bar, cold water, and phlegm can cause dire events.
You couldn't see it, but your wife was behind you with an X-Acto knife ready to go full on trach on us.
That was a possibility.
She was going to give you the Clint Malarchuk special right there, right in the crease. But if you get a chance to read that stuff, take a look at the photo, and it was just, you know, there are certain guys that you talk to, and it's just the passion bleeds out of them, and you guys would appreciate this. It was like when we had Mike Kramer on the show, and listening to Mike, and he just, his passion just bled, his passion for collecting, and it was it was incredible. Hey Bobby, how you doing? Good to see you on here. And he says, any Senators autographs from the pre-war era? I don't have any autographs, but I do have photos and some memorabilia up from you can't see it, and I can't really move my screen over here, but I have a 1926-27 Senators team picture from when they won the Stanley Cup. And I have some one-eyed Frank McGee items, but nothing that's like worth a lot of money and being used, or, you know, I don't have any autographs from that era, but I do have a lot of photos and things like that in frames on this area. When I get this room done, I'll have to figure out some way to give you a tour of all the cool stuff I've got in.
Looking forward to it. So we're coming up on 2.5 hours. Time check.
I better get going. I gotta go get radioactive. And, so yeah, thanks again for having me on, guys. This is a lot of fun.
Always, anytime,
Yeah,
anytime.
I could go for I could go at least for another 6 hours, but my wife would kill me. So
Yeah, let's not do that, Jeff.
Oh,
Let's keep the peace. Let's keep the
yeah, exactly.
peace.
So
we got 52 episodes next year. You can pick any one of those you want to join us.
And more.
True.
Well, let's say 50, because typically we do take at least a couple breaks.
where's the national next? You guys go to the national next year?
I'm gonna try
Where is it next year?
Cleveland.
Oh, that's
For me, it's 2 hours.
yeah, that's pretty close to you.
You? It's a lot longer.
True.
Oh,
Sorry, Benny, that was funny. That was funny.
Touche.
Well played, better.
Wife. Touche.
Well played. No, we're still. I think we're all still kind of debating
excuse me.
initial plans. We're hoping to try and make the expo in
Expo.
November next year.
I'm my plan is and again this is a very ambitious plan, but I hope to do a book this year, and it's just going to be different than Mike's book. Mike like goes kind of chronologically and tells a story, and my book is just going to be random. like what I want my book to be is about 40 or 50 stories that you don't have to read in order, and they're just stories about me as a collector as a kid, or working for a sports card company, or working in the hobby in the media, or working or being a collector, or whatever. And I want you to keep it in the bathroom, and every time you sit down to take a shit, the book is there, and you can get through a 1,500 word story and wipe your ass, and then you're gone until the next time. I mean, that to me, that's where I do all my reading. I don't know about you guys, but but I mean that's the kind of thing. My working title is Crunchy Gum Junk Wax and Graded Rookies, and it's just going to be stories of the hobby, and hopefully I can get that up. I've talked to Steve Menzie about it. When the book does come out, I want to do a book release at the expo. I don't know if it'll be done. That again, it's ambitious to have it done, and ready to go by that time. But that's the goal, because as you guys know, it's like there's a lot of stories that I have and a lot of experiences, and it's just it would be very fulfilling to just kind of get them out and get them, because you don't know how much time you've got, and I want to get this done before I'm gone, and so it would be really good to get that done. But if I can get that out for the expo, that would be really a cool thing. And I don't know how it would go. I don't know if it would be. I know Mike's book sold like wildfire. I mean, it's a hard book to get right now until they do another printing. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm a big enough kind of. I don't know if I'm well enough known in the hobby that there would be sort of a wow factor with me writing a book. But I really think it would be a fun thing to put together, and I think that it would. I think a lot of the stories would be pretty funny too, because some of the. I mean, if there's one thing that we've been able to do in the last 30 or 40 years in this hobby, it's laugh, and a lot of fun things, and a lot of great relationships, and a lot of funny stories, and so I kind of hope that happens, but we'll have to see, So yeah, so thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it, and a lot of fun hanging out with you guys.
Anytime.
And Steve, like, what the hell with the Broncos, Steve? Like, Jesus, are we gonna have to bring Norris Weiss back to play, or what?
I don't know.
2 weeks
I'm
ago,
at a loss.
2 weeks ago, it was looking so good, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. That was disappointing. That one hurt. Come back from 16, tie it, get the ball back with 3 timeouts, and plenty of time, and like the offensive line completely like shit the bed and didn't give us a chance to do anything.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I don't know. It's not all Russell. I don't care what anybody says. I will fight them. Everybody's trying to put the blame on Russell Wilson on every issue, and it's not all him.
Yeah.
It is not all him. Last year, he was horrible.
Yeah.
Last year, he was horrible. This year, he has been fairly consistent, but when you can't give him time to throw the damn football, how can you put all the blame on him? You can't. But yet everybody wants to point the finger at him like he's the problem, and he's not. I'm sick of hearing, it's all Russell's fault. Blame Russell. No, shut up.
Well, the way things are going this year, they'll probably dust off somebody like Tommy Maddox and bring him back, and he'll come in and be a star for 3 weeks. I mean, that's the way this year's kind of gone. So I don't know. It's
Look at Mason Rudolph this past Sunday.
exactly.
He went from Saturday. Thank you. I love to be corrected.
It's like having spell check right in your own room. Hey, that's great, Vinny.
Well, there's speculation that Russell may not be in Denver next year.
We'll take
So
it.
That'd be interesting.
even after signing that big extension, there is speculation and rumors that he may not be in Denver next year. So we'll see.
And isn't it frustrating to see who has done well? You see Drew Lock winning games, Trevor Siemian you see doing well. You see Joe Flacco doing well. Like I think there are like 5 or 6 guys that the Broncos brought in and gave up on that are all doing well right now. And it's just like, God, what, like, give somebody more than 6 months and develop somebody, let somebody learn the offense and get used to the receivers.
What's sad though is Locke was a more of a backup anyways. Because he never was given a chance. But all the guys that have done okay elsewhere, they really didn't have weapons. That was part of the problem. Denver had nothing on the offensive side of the football.
Yeah.
And their offensive line has been garbage for the last 6 years. It's been horrendous. Like, could you imagine if Peyton was still playing behind that offensive line? Like, the team would be just as bad.
Yeah. Imagine how bad his neck injury would be then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating, but it's one of those in which they tried to plug and fix the offensive line issues from last year, and that didn't work out so well.
Yeah.
Spent all that money and it didn't work out so well, which is unfortunate. But they should have canned freaking Joseph. They shouldn't have brought him back as the defensive coordinator. Like, they should have still just gotten rid of him. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the management, like the upper echelon in the organization, because they're doing some stupid shit. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But
I still have my Teddy Bridgewater jersey. You'd look pretty good right now out there. You should have kept them. So, all right, boys. Well, I'm going to sign off. Thanks again for having me, and we'll do this again soon.
Looking forward to it, Jeff.
Absolutely, Jeff.
All right. Well, I'm going to. Oh, there's a leave studio button there. Okay, I see where it is now. All right, boys. We'll take care, and we'll talk to you soon and have a happy new year. And we'll talk to you later. Okay.
You
Good
as
to see
well.
you, Jeff.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good one. He actually learned to like go bye-bye this time.
And
So-
I'll say it for him. Donate bone marrow.
Give blood.
Give
Yep.
blood. It helps.
Be a hero.
not
Donate
a
blood,
hero.
plasma.
Hopefully he goes back and watches like the Christmas episode. I think he would have get a kick out of Bob's shenanigans. Look at these crazy Jagovs. Just who buys someone 15 Teddy Bridgewater cards? I do. Why? Because Dave loves Teddy Bridge over troubled waters. Well, that's something you don't see every day.
Of course. Come on.
Make me big.
Are you struggling there, Dave?
What's that number 2?
That is the 98.99, so no number on that one.
Okay. That's a print run.
He's sitting down.
Yep.
No.
Oh la la. Those are nice. Artist proof. Pretty.
Are you really sitting down?
No.
Yes. Ooh.
Super screwed.
25.
Yep.
I was looking for the number. There it is.
Yep.
Was that kidney money, allegedly?
Yeah, it was. I put a bid, and I didn't think I was going to win it, and I won it. So that always is a pleasant treat. So I lied when I said that Upper Deck game jersey back in October was going to be the last big Lindros of the year.
Yeah.
They're both in the same vein of prices too. So
If opportunity presents itself, sometimes,
yeah.
and you have the ability. Paul wants to know if he gets the assist for that.
Sure, Paul, I'll allow it. Hundo,
Go ahead, Dave. Finish up first.
is that to 100?
This?
Yes.
Okay, that's the closest thing Mario has to a Star Quest Gold. And why I like this one, that would be a Yager out of 100.
Okay.
Close to 66. So I have a backdoor copy that's graded a 10, but it doesn't have that numbering, right? So this
Yep.
is an actual number.
If it's a back door, then it has no number.
There's no number on it.
So
This is a front door copy. So this is 9-10 Upper Deck Collector's Choice. I think they brought it back for a year, and that was that. Then that's an oldie but a goodie. SPX Force in a new iteration with parallels now.
Is it this year
This is
or is it 6-7?
22-23
Okay.
SPX So he has his 96, 97. Then I think the other one's 2007, 2008. And this is the 22, 23 with him, Yager, Francis, and Malkin. An interesting pairing. Or it's not a pairing. It's
Quadrangular.
yeah, I was going to say quadrangular.
It's a pairing times 2.
Paul, you get sort of the assist on this one because I didn't know it existed.
Pairing squared.
So this is out of Allure. The gold doubloons.
Gabagool.
Yeah. So the gold on this is pretty friggin' bright. And the back is gold. It's made of gold.
It looks like 5, 6, no, 7 Pinnacle, the award winners without the doofix.
It's very shiny. I wanted to see where's the cousin card to that. Hold on. Beep, 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 beep. Hold on. Because I was like, how does Lemieux have a card in Allure? They never have. He never has anything. Usually the legends never have an Allure card. Then that's the other one.
Well, that's your the K-set deal?
Yeah, this is just friggin' gorgeous. So I was almost bought into a break, and I'm like, wait a second. How can they have Lemieux cards in Allure? And it went for like $3. And I'm like, well, those were case hits, so probably would not have made my money. And then I think I've showed that. So there's my essential credentials.
Even if you have that's one you want to show as many times as possible.
Yeah. So that's the one out of 37. I think this is the now, and then the other one's the future. And it went for a buy it now like 2 years ago for 200 some bucks. And it's numbered to like 4 or 5, maybe 7 at the most. So
I remember that was like a late night one where there's some
just went to bed.
consternation in the Lemieux collecting community where who got this? Who?
Exactly.
Who?
And then this thing, which is also, I believe, a case hit. So I think I have 2 of them now. I have the 12-13, and this is 9-10. Or, yeah, 9-10. And lastly, but not leastly, my one autograph for the year. Glacial Graphs.
See the finger?
Hi.
Other things.
See the jag behind the card? So there's my one autograph. And it was that blue ink on that blue background acetate's just freaking gorgeous. So this is out of 21-22 ice.
Speaking of autographs, Dave, just in general, do you ever hear back from a certain somebody that you texted?
I haven't. We're talking about Montana. No, not yet.
I was just curious. Gabagool. Anyways. Wrap us
That's
up.
one of the best parts too when Jeff is on when he talks. A, it's enjoyable. B, we don't have to talk.
Exactly.
Today I had 9.5 hours of inventory, and I still got more tomorrow.
Yuck.
Numbers, writing, numbers. It's just, oh my lord, I'm booked.
I go back to work. tomorrow for 2 days, and then I'm off for 4. So
So I got to do that. I got to probably be in by 4:30. Order has to be in by 7:30, so that's the meat department, the deli, and mine, because dairy was done today. Thursday it's freight day, but I'm try to keep it to a minimum amount because going down to the cities, get a lesson in for pitching, and then gotta order that day for Friday. Gotta order tomorrow for Thursday for another outfit up here. Saturday, I don't think I gotta order. Oh, I don't know. Nope, nothing for Monday, so that's good. But I mean, it's I don't want to bare shells, but at the same time, I really don't care. I'm just like I'm I'm just like, good lord, that's the only bad part. Like the one truck this week, I can still finagle like doing both, like from one warehouse where it doesn't have nearly as much, but still, it's just tired. This is the worst. I said holiday wise, and then work wise this week is just, especially when the holiday is on like a Monday. If you have it midweek, that's perfect because you still have like a Monday deal. If it's on like a Saturday, you still have like Thursday truck. So none of that shit's interrupted. But when you have the interruption, it's like,
wrap us up then, Dave, so you can get to bed at a decent
hopefully. Allegedly.
time.
Thank you all for watching. Sorry about the late placeholder. Like I said, it's been, I can't even tell you the busyness of like the week. And anytime I sat down, it was just instant, like zone. It's the last thing I wanted to do, but I think, and I said in the video, I got like a package from Mike. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll get to it in the first like 10 minutes. Well,
Yeah. Next week, Wednesday.
yeah, next week's Wednesday. So, again, go tell all your friends. It's going to be the push, the start for the push. It's that time of year. We got to hope that a certain video comes out on what?
The 19th.
No, because we started this channel on like the 5th, I think.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we did. The first show. Our first video, I think, was January 5th.
Where is? Why won't it freaking tell me? Okay, yep, January 5th.
So that comes out on Saturday, which usually that seems to be a day of a drop, could change. We're golden. So but yeah, next week, and I think it's the week after, and I think it's the week after. The 16th, I don't think she's got a game, but I think at the same time she'll want to go to the games. So, so I think the 23rd is going to be the first Tuesday we're able to have a show. So the next 3 weeks, I believe, is all going to be Wednesdays.
Okay.
So, with that being said, well, if you don't have enough water or liquid or moisture, it's not moist, then the first push is the hardest. You're correct, Joe. So thank you, Jeff, for coming on. I wouldn't say last minute, but trying to like tie up the loose ends, getting him on there and making sure everything is going to work out. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know coining a Steve phrase, speak for the three of us. We did. We always enjoy it. It's always fun to listen to somebody in the inside or on the inside chatter about cards, stories, whatnot. Go read his articles over at Sports Cards Daily or Sports Collectors Daily.
Sports Collectors Daily.
Definitely. You'll see that who it's by, the author. So go take a gander. You're looking at fucking porn or stupid QVC or whatever the fuck you're looking at on the internet. Go read something. Educate yourself. Don't be dumb. We got enough man buns out there that are dumb. Stink lines and team schmediums and people that think they're essential to the hobby. So
Everybody looks good in good lighting.
yeah. They can go in the lighting box and have the personality of a fucking turnip.
Then you just float away.
I'm not close enough to the camera to float away.
Had to get the right part of my body in there to float away.
If you got any other part, we might be off the air and we won't have to worry about
This is true.
a particular exclusive click that only the vintage belong to. Did you find that Mario Lemieux Tampex stand-up that you're looking for? And if anybody had it out there, they graciously send it to you.
Can't say that I have.
Maybe you should put out a video.
I don't know. I'm satisfied with my Aqua Velva bottle.
Understandable.
It's the perfect setup.
And it's vintage.
Yes. Almost antique.
I think crack the top 10 cologne / perfumes.
Yeah.
Week. Of sport.
Les Wade had some skin bracer commercials I wasn't aware of. It's not a market he was in.
I think the Stetson got in there right at the
Oh,
end.
maybe. That seems along his line. Imagine if he could be a sponsor for Sam's Club rotisserie chicken.
Are you purposely trying to make this go to 3 hours or so?
No, but I'm having fun and we're the piss out of you.
Let's see that. That's what happens.
See what happens. See what happens. That's called karma.
Shut up, crap.
That's called karma.
As soon as he said annoying the piss out of you, I knew it was.
Gabe. That is the perfect setup for Doom. Only if I had better lighting.
Well, if you wouldn't have been sick for the past 11 days.
Yeah, no shit.
I just can't believe Mario didn't play that last game in Boca Raton. That stupid fucking coach. Doesn't he know who that is?
but he never rode a horse through. You know, that would have been interesting through the stadium or on the ice. That would have been real interesting. On that, we've gone down a path. I don't know if we can sustain this much longer, Dave.
So remember, next week, Wednesday, 7:35 ish, Central Standard Time. If you're bored right now, UNLV Kansas, good bowl game, middle of third quarter. Kansas is up 28-24. So we'll figure out what we're talking about hopefully sooner than 2 hours before showtime next week. I'll do a better job. I promise. Promise. So for Vincenzo, Steve, I'm Dave. This has been the Insert Revolution podcast. Remember, collecting cards. It's an absolutely wonderful hobby. Friendships that you forge along the way. That's what really matters. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.